My mother said it like she was offering the last dinner roll. Let her keep your husband. She sat across from me at her kitchen table, one hand wrapped around a mug that said, "Blessed beyond measure." The coffee inside it had gone cold. I knew because she'd complained about it twice without getting up to warm it. "Keep him," I repeated. "Don't twist my words, Claire." There were only 4 words in the sentence available for twisting, and I didn't have the energy. Mom leaned forward. You know what I mean. If Daniel and Vanessa have this connection, this thing neither one of them planned, then maybe the kindest thing you can do is stop making everybody suffer. Behind her, the back door stood open 6 inches. July heat pressed through the screen. Then the hinges made their little dry squeal, and Daniel stepped into the kitchen carrying an overnight bag. Mom didn't hear him. "You've always been stronger than your sister," she said. "You can rebuild. Vanessa can't." Daniel stopped with one hand still on the door. His face changed before Mom noticed the shadow fall across the table. Shame first. Then something sharper aimed past me. I looked at the bag in his hand and wondered which of us he had packed it for. 5 months earlier, I was on my knees trying to force a fitted sheet around the guest room mattress when my sister called to say she was leaving her husband, not getting divorced, not separating, leaving. Vanessa always preferred verbs that suggested motion over nouns that suggested consequences. "I can't breathe here anymore," she whispered. I hooked one corner of the sheet over the mattress. It popped off the opposite corner and slapped me in the wrist. "Where's here?" "My life." "Okay. More specifically?" She made a sound halfway between a laugh and a sob. "See, this is why I called you. Because I asked follow-up questions? Because I owned sheets?" With Vanessa, either was possible. I sat back on my heels. The guest room smelled like lemon cleaner and the cedar blocks Daniel's mother gave us every Christmas. I'd been making the bed for his college friend, Nate, who was supposed to stay with us during a sales conference the following week. "Are you safe?" I asked. "Yes. Is Mark there?" "No." "He went to the gym." "Did something happen?" "Everything happened. Just slowly." That was Vanessa's gift. She could turn a lack of information into a sentence you felt guilty for questioning. I closed my eyes. "Where are you going?" There was a pause long enough to be an answer. "Mom said maybe I could stay with you." Of course she had. Our mother lived in a 4-bedroom house with my father and one very territorial cat. Daniel and I lived in a 3-bedroom house with no cat and a lifelong reputation for flexibility. "How long?" I asked. "I don't know, Claire. I haven't exactly had time to make a 5-year plan. I'm asking if you need a place tonight." "Oh." Her voice softened. "Yes. Tonight." I looked at the half-made bed. "Come over." She exhaled as if I'd just talked her down from a ledge. "I knew you'd understand." That was another sentence people used when they wanted credit for correctly predicting my surrender. Daniel came home 40 minutes later with a grocery bag tucked against his hip and found me standing at the kitchen counter canceling Nate's visit. He set down a carton of eggs. "Why is my friend staying at a La Quinta?" "Because my sister is moving into the guest room." He stared at me. "Temporarily." "Claire." "She left Mark." His expression shifted. Daniel liked Mark in the easy way men sometimes liked other men they saw 4 times a year and had never had to depend on. They talked about baseball, grills, and whether leaf blowers should have that much power. What did he do? "I don't know. You didn't ask?" "I did ask," Vanessa answered poetically. Daniel pulled a bottle of hot sauce out of the bag. "How temporarily is temporarily?" 6 weeks. "You made that up." I made it up responsibly. He leaned against the counter and studied me. At 38, Daniel had the kind of face that still looked younger when he was amused and suddenly older when he was disappointed. There was gray starting at his temples, which Vanessa would later call distinguished. I'd been calling it gray. "We can give her 6 weeks, he said, "but you have to tell her 6 weeks. I will, out loud, using numbers." "Yes." And your mother doesn't get to call in week 5 and explain that time is an artificial social construct. I smiled despite myself. That only happened once. It was a 3-month once. He came around the counter and kissed my forehead. It was not a passionate gesture. It was familiar and warm and landed exactly where a kiss had landed so many times that my body accepted it before my mind noticed. "You okay?" he asked. "I'm annoyed that Mom volunteered our house." That wasn't what I asked. I know. The doorbell rang before I could answer better. Vanessa stood on the porch beside 4 suitcases, 2 canvas tote bags, a garment bag, and a potted fiddle leaf fig that was taller than she was. Daniel looked past her toward the driveway. Did the plant leave Mark too? Vanessa laughed, then started crying so quickly it seemed the laugh had broken something. Daniel stepped outside and took the 2 biggest suitcases. I took the plant. My sister had always been beautiful in a way that made strangers eager to forgive her. Even swollen-eyed, with her dark hair twisted into a collapsing knot, she looked like the photograph in an article about women finding themselves. I looked like the person who had been asked to proofread the article for free. She wrapped both arms around me, trapping the plant between us. "I'm sorry," she said into my shoulder. "For leaving Mark? For bringing so much stuff?" "Oh." I didn't know what I'd need. The fiddle leaf fig brushed my cheek. One of its leaves had a brown edge. "We'll figure it out," I said. She held me tighter. Over her shoulder, Daniel gave me a look that said 6 weeks. I nodded. Vanessa's first night in our house was almost enough to make me ashamed of every uncharitable thought I'd ever had about her. She sat at our kitchen table wearing one of my old college sweatshirts, both hands around a bowl of soup she barely touched. She told us Mark hadn't hit her, cheated on her, or threatened her. In some ways, she said, that made leaving harder to justify. "He just makes everything feel small," she said. "Every dream I have becomes a budget question. Every feeling becomes something I have to prove." Daniel tore a piece of bread in half. "What happened today?" I told him I wanted to take a month off and apply for this interior styling program in Chicago. I stopped with my spoon halfway to my mouth. "A month off from the gallery? The gallery is killing me. You work 3 days a week." "Exactly. It's not even a real career, but somehow I'm still exhausted." Daniel looked down quickly, and I knew he was hiding a smile. Vanessa knew too. "You can laugh," she told him. I realized how that sounded. It sounded a little like the 3 days were attacking you personally. She laughed, and this time it didn't turn into crying. I should say that Daniel was kind to everyone. He talked to cashiers as if they were hosting him in their homes. He once spent an hour helping our neighbor drag a wet sectional out of a basement after a pipe burst, even though the neighbor had spent the previous summer reporting us to the Homeowners Association for leaving our garbage cans visible until noon. His kindness to Vanessa did not feel special that night. That mattered later. Vanessa explained that Mark had asked how they would cover their mortgage if she quit. He'd pointed out that they were still paying for the wedding, a sentence she repeated as if he had called the police on her imagination. He said, "I always want a new life but never want to pay for one," she said. The room went quiet. It was a mean thing to say. It was also accurate enough that I understood why it hurt. I reached across the table and touched her wrist. "You don't have to decide everything tonight." Her eyes filled again. "Mom said you'd say that." There it was, a tiny pin sliding under my fingernail. Daniel glanced at me. "Your mom knew Vanessa was coming before you did?" "Only by a few minutes," Vanessa said quickly. "I didn't ask her to call Claire." "She didn't call me," I said. "She told Vanessa she could stay here." Vanessa's fingers tightened around her spoon. "I can go to a hotel. No one said that. I don't want to be a burden. No one said that either. You didn't have to." Daniel put his bread down. "How about nobody decides what anybody else meant tonight?" His tone was gentle, but it ended the conversation. Vanessa nodded. I removed my hand from her wrist and finished my soup. The next morning, I woke to voices downstairs. For one disoriented second, I thought the television was on. Then Vanessa laughed. It was 6:30. Daniel stood at the kitchen counter in running shorts making coffee. Vanessa sat on a stool with her bare feet hooked around the lower rung, wrapped in my blue robe. Not a robe like mine. My robe. She looked down when I entered. I hope this is okay. Mine's buried somewhere. Apparently under 4 suitcases and a tree, Daniel said. She threw a paper napkin at him. I opened the cupboard harder than necessary. Coffee? Daniel asked. Yes. He held up my favorite mug, the wide cream-colored one with the chip near the handle. Vanessa was drinking from it. He noticed half a second too late. I can switch, Vanessa said. It's a mug. I didn't know. It's fine. She pushed it toward me anyway. Claire, take it. I said it's fine. The stupid thing was, it was fine. It was ceramic. We owned 11 others. But Vanessa's lipstick had left a pale rose mark along the rim, and Daniel had already remembered exactly how she took her coffee. Cream, no sugar. My phone buzzed against the counter. Mom. I let it ring. Vanessa watched the screen. She's worried. She has your number. She said she didn't want to crowd me. I looked at her over the cupboard door. My sister had the decency to wince. Daniel handed me coffee in a travel tumbler. You've got the 8 o'clock meeting. I'd forgotten. He hadn't. For a moment, the kitchen settled into something I recognized. Daniel leaning close enough for his shoulder to touch mine, the smell of coffee, the low hum of the refrigerator, my day waiting in orderly pieces. I rested my hand against his back. Then Vanessa said, "You two are what I thought marriage would feel like." Daniel went still. I took my hand away first. By Sunday, Mom had converted Vanessa's departure from Mark into a family emergency with assigned roles. Dad was supposed to speak to Mark man to man, though no one could explain what he was meant to say. Daniel was supposed to locate an affordable storage unit. I was supposed to accompany Vanessa back to her house, help pack the rest of her clothes, call the gallery, research the Chicago program, and make sure she ate. Vanessa was supposed to rest. We were at my parents' dining table when Mom announced this, passing around a bowl of mashed potatoes as if the assignments had been tucked beneath them. I work this week, I said. Mom blinked. We all work. You're asking me to take a day off. I'm asking you to help your sister through the worst moment of her life. Dad stared down at his plate. He had perfected the posture of a man who could disappear behind a pork chop. Vanessa spoke quietly. I can pack by myself. Mom touched her arm. You shouldn't have to. The sentence landed between us with its usual precision. Vanessa should not have to. Claire could. Daniel cleared his throat. I can go with her Tuesday afternoon. Mom's face opened with relief. Would you? That's wonderful. Vanessa looked at him. You don't mind? Packing boxes? I'll survive. You hate packing. He smiled. I hate packing my own stuff. Everyone laughed, including me. That was how it began, not with a kiss or a lie, but with my husband volunteering to carry something I was tired of being told was mine. On Tuesday, Daniel came home carrying 6 cardboard boxes, a floor lamp, and a white ceramic bowl I had given Vanessa for her wedding. She followed him through the door with the fiddle leaf fig's smaller, sadder cousin tucked under one arm. Don't say it, she warned. I looked at the plant. Were there hostages? Mark doesn't water them correctly. Daniel lowered the boxes beside the stairs. Apparently there's a tone. There is a tone. You can't just dump water on them once a week like you're putting out a fire. I didn't realize hydration had a bedside manner. Vanessa smiled at him. It was easy, unguarded. She looked better than she had in days. I stood in the entryway holding my laptop bag and the takeout I'd picked up on my way home. Traffic had been bad, my meeting had gone long, and I'd spent 20 minutes in a parking lot answering emails while the restaurant remade an order they'd handed to the wrong person. Did you get everything? I asked. Her smile faded slightly. Most of it. How was Mark? He wasn't there. Daniel reached for the takeout bag. Give me that. I've got it. You've also got your computer and your purse. I have the correct number of arms. He took it anyway and kissed my cheek. We got those noodles you like. I glanced down at the bag. I got those noodles we like. He looked inside. Even better. Vanessa had gone upstairs, but I could hear her moving around in the guest room. A drawer slid open. Something bumped against the wall. How bad was it? I asked quietly. Daniel carried the food into the kitchen. Not bad. Weird. Weird how? Mark boxed most of her things before we got there. That sounded exactly like Mark, efficient enough to be mistaken for cold. Did he leave a note? Labels. Daniel began taking containers from the bag. Shoes, bathroom, winter. He even wrapped the picture frames. Of course he did. He put her mail in a folder. There was no accusation in Daniel's voice, but there was something close to sympathy. For her? I asked. For himself, probably. Still. Vanessa came into the kitchen carrying the ceramic bowl. Look, she said, holding it toward me. He packed this with my things. It is your thing. You gave it to us. I gave it to you. For our wedding. Daniel had gone very still behind the open refrigerator door. Vanessa traced her thumb over the blue rim. Do you think it means he's done? I wanted to say that packing someone's belongings after she moved out was not an encrypted message. I wanted to ask what she thought she had told him by taking the plants first. Instead, I opened a carton of noodles. I think it means he doesn't want the bowl. That got a laugh out of Daniel. Vanessa stared at me for a second, then laughed too. God, Claire. What? Nothing. I missed you. You've been living here for 5 days. I know, but you've been doing that voice. What voice? The customer service voice. I don't have a customer service voice. Daniel looked at the ceiling. You stay out of it, I told him. I have no idea what you're talking about, ma'am. Is there anything else I can help you with today? Vanessa laughed so hard she had to put the bowl down. I laughed too because it was funny. It was also irritating. That combination was common in my marriage. After dinner, Daniel carried the boxes upstairs while I wiped sauce off the table. Vanessa tried to help me, but Mom called, and she took the phone onto the back patio. Through the glass, I saw her fold one arm across her stomach while she listened. Then she looked through the door at me. Mom's timing was too good to be accidental. Daniel came back downstairs, rubbing his lower back. What's in the box marked sweaters? He asked. Brick's wearing cardigans? She keeps everything. I noticed. There's a movie ticket from 2016 on the dresser. That might be sentimental. It's for the accountant. She liked Ben Affleck. No one liked the accountant enough to preserve evidence. I sprayed the table and wiped it again. Daniel watched me. You're mad. No, customer service voice. I tossed the rag into the sink. I had a long day. I know. No, you know I said I had a long day. You don't know what happened. Okay, tell me. The willingness in his face made my irritation feel childish. I leaned back against the counter and told him about the meeting, the duplicated shipping order, and my supervisor asking me to solve a problem created by a department that would later get thanked for solving it. Daniel listened. He asked the right questions. When I was finished, he opened his arms. I stepped into them. He smelled faintly of dust and Vanessa's vanilla room spray. I'm sorry, he murmured against my hair. For my job or my sister? Yes. I pressed my face into his shirt and laughed. That was the trouble with Daniel. Even when I wanted to resent him, he knew where the door was. Vanessa found a storage unit but did not rent it. Mom said the monthly fee was predatory. Dad offered half, which Mom said would humiliate Vanessa. The boxes stayed in our upstairs hallway, creating an obstacle course between our bedroom and the laundry room. On Thursday night, I tripped over one marked decorative and caught myself against the wall. Vanessa. Sorry, she called from the guest room. Can these go inside? There's no space. Then they need to go to storage. She appeared in the doorway wearing leggings and one of Daniel's old t-shirts. I recognized it because the front said, "Bite me," beneath a picture of a mosquito. I'd bought it for him during a trip to Louisiana. She saw me looking down. It was in the clean laundry, she said. I thought it was yours. Why would that make it better? Her face tightened. I'll change. No, just don't take our clothes without asking. Your robe was hanging in the bathroom, and now we've covered both categories. She disappeared into the room and shut the door. The click was soft, but it made my jaw clench. Daniel came up behind me with a laundry basket balanced against his hip. What happened? I asked her not to wear our clothes. He looked toward the closed door. She's upset, I added, before he could say it. I know. I wasn't going to say that. You were thinking it in italics. He smiled despite himself. That's not a thing. It's absolutely a thing. He set the basket down. She probably just grabbed the first shirt she saw. I don't care about the shirt. I know. You're doing it again. Doing what? Agreeing in a way that means I'm unreasonable. He leaned against the wall. How am I supposed to agree correctly? Maybe don't explain why she did the thing I asked her not to do. Fair. From behind the guest room door came a muffled sniff. Daniel glanced at it. I lowered my voice. Don't. I wasn't going to. The door opened. Vanessa had changed into a black sweater and jeans. Her eyes were wet. I'm going out, she said. At 9:30, Daniel asked. Some people from the gallery invited me. You don't have to leave because of a shirt, I said. I'm not. Vanessa. She picked up her purse from the floor. I said I was sorry. You said you'd change. What do you want, Claire? Blood? Maybe a storage unit? The second it left my mouth, I wished I could pull it back. Her expression went flat. Hurt was one of Vanessa's most effective forms of silence. Daniel stepped between us without physically moving. He only changed his tone. Let's take the boxes tomorrow, he said. I'll help. I don't need your help, Vanessa replied. All evidence to the contrary, I said. She looked at me, then at him. I'm going out. The front door slammed a minute later. Daniel picked up the laundry basket. You want to say it? I asked. No. Go ahead. I think she's embarrassed. Daniel, you told me to say it. No, I told you to say what you were already obviously thinking. That doesn't mean I have to enjoy hearing it. He shifted the basket against his hip. She shouldn't take your stuff. She should move the boxes. You're right. But you know exactly where she's bruised, Claire. So does she. He went quiet. That landed because it was true, and because it was not entirely fair. Vanessa returned after midnight. I heard the front door, low voices, then the microwave beeping. I found her and Daniel in the kitchen sharing the leftover noodles over the sink. She was barefoot, mascara shadowed beneath her eyes. Daniel held out the carton when he saw me. Want some? No. Vanessa swallowed. I wasn't drinking, if that's why you're up. I'm up because people are talking in my kitchen. We were whispering, Daniel said. You whisper loudly. He nodded. Also fair. Vanessa put down her fork. I texted you. My phone was charging upstairs. Mark was at the bar, she continued, with someone. Someone? A woman from his office. Daniel gave her a paper towel. It doesn't matter, Vanessa said, dabbing beneath one eye. I left him. He's allowed. The fact that she said it calmly made me believe she was devastated. I pulled out a stool and sat beside her. Did you talk to him? No. I hid behind a fake tree. Daniel pointed his fork at her. It was a large fake tree. In my defense, you were completely concealed. I looked between them. You were there? He picked me up, Vanessa said, at the bar. When I saw Mark, I turned to Daniel. She called, he said. I didn't want her driving upset. It was reasonable, kind even. I reached for the carton, though I wasn't hungry. The three of us stood around the counter eating cold noodles while Vanessa told the story of crouching behind dusty plastic leaves. She made it funny. Daniel improved the imitation of the bartender pretending not to notice her. I laughed hard enough to snort, which made Vanessa laugh harder. For 10 minutes, we were not a wife, a husband, and a sister straining around one another. We were just 3 adults in a bright kitchen after midnight, held together by salt and fatigue. Then Vanessa rested her hand on Daniel's forearm when she laughed. She left it there a second too long. Maybe 2. Daniel gently moved to set his fork in the sink. The next morning, I told Vanessa we needed an actual end date. She stood at the counter eating toast, wearing her own robe. I thought 6 weeks was the end date. You thought? You said it the first night. I had said it to Daniel before she arrived. I couldn't remember saying it to her. 6 weeks from when you moved in, I said. That gives you until March 28th. She nodded, chewing. Okay? Yes, Claire. March 28th. She said it without resistance, and the relief I felt embarrassed me. Then she smiled. Plenty of time, she said. She spent the first week of that time reorganizing the guest room closet. I knew because every night when I came home, another stack of my things had appeared in the hallway. An old quilt, a folding drying rack, 2 framed prints I had never hung because Daniel said the birds looked judgmental. Vanessa leaned them against our bedroom door. Why are these out here? I asked. They were taking up half the closet. They're 6 inches wide. Emotionally, they're larger. I stared at the birds. They did look judgmental. Daniel came up the stairs carrying an empty storage bin. I told her she could consolidate. You told her? She asked where we kept the bins. And you assumed my stuff was what needed consolidating. Vanessa stepped into the hall behind him. Her hair was pinned up with a pencil, and there was a streak of dust across her forehead. I'm trying to make the room functional, she said. It was functional. Nate could have slept in it. Nate is one man with a duffel bag. Nate is beginning to sound like an excellent house guest. Daniel set the bin down. I'll put everything in the office closet. Our office closet is full. I'll reorganize it. You hate organizing, Vanessa smiled. I'm teaching him. Something in the word teaching bothered me, though I couldn't have said why without sounding like I objected to basic education. Daniel picked up the quilt. Come on, Professor. Tell me where this goes. She followed him into the office. I remained in the hallway with the birds. The storage unit finally happened because Dad got tired of hearing Mom discuss it. He showed up Saturday morning in his truck, wearing work gloves and the expression of a man reporting for jury duty. Dad was 67, narrow-shouldered, and permanently sunburned across the bridge of his nose. He hugged me with one arm, then peered up the stairs. How many boxes? 12. Your mother said 4. Mom counts emotionally. He nodded as if that explained tax law. Daniel came down carrying 2 boxes stacked to his chin. Vanessa followed with a table lamp. Morning, Robert, Daniel said. Dad took the top box. What's in this? Decorative. Decorative what? No one knows. Vanessa rolled her eyes. You're all very funny. Dad looked at her for a moment, then put down the box and hugged her. She folded against him. You doing okay, honey? I'm trying. I know. His voice changed with Vanessa. It became softer and slower, the way some people spoke around skittish animals. He loved me, but he had never sounded afraid I might bolt. Vanessa closed her eyes against his jacket. I picked up the next box. At the storage facility, she discovered Mom had rented the smallest available unit. This won't fit, Vanessa said. Dad jingled the padlock in his hand. Your mother measured. With what? Optimism? Daniel coughed into his fist. I opened the metal door. The space behind it was barely wider than a closet and smelled like concrete dust. We can stack vertically, I said. For the next hour, we built an unstable wall out of Vanessa's former life. Daniel climbed onto a plastic chair to lift boxes onto the top row. Dad directed him from below despite having no useful view. Vanessa stood outside reading the labels and deciding which boxes should remain accessible. Kitchen can go in back, she said. Winter? I asked. Front. It's February. Exactly. Books? Front. Decorative? Front. If everything goes in front, we're building a line, not a stack. She gave me a look. You don't have to be mean. I'm describing geometry. Daniel turned around on the chair. How about we make a priority pile? Vanessa smiled at him. Thank you. Dad suddenly became fascinated by the padlock. I dragged the box marked kitchen to the back. When we finished, Dad took us to a diner. Vanessa ordered pancakes and ate half of mine too. Daniel flicked powdered sugar at her after she stole his bacon. She flicked it back and caught him across the chest. For a second, I saw us as a stranger might. My father at the head of the booth, me beside him, Daniel and Vanessa across from us, leaning toward each other as they laughed. The arrangement looked wrong. Then Vanessa turned and wiped powdered sugar from Daniel's shirt with her napkin. "Could you two not?" I said. Both of them stopped. Dad looked up from pouring syrup. Vanessa lowered the napkin. "Not what? Throw food in a restaurant?" "Oh." Her cheeks reddened. Daniel brushed the sugar away himself. "Sorry. I sounded petty even to me. Maybe especially to me." Dad asked whether anyone wanted more coffee, and the moment was folded up and put away with everything else. Mom arrived Sunday carrying 2 casseroles and a bag of oranges. One casserole was for Vanessa. The other, she explained, was for the rest of us. "What's the difference?" I asked. "Vanessa's has less sodium. Stress creates inflammation. Mine has cheese," Vanessa said, lifting the foil. "Yours has a little cheese." Daniel inspected ours. "Do we have inflammation?" Mom ignored him and walked upstairs. I followed because nothing good ever came from my mother touring a room unattended. The guest room had become a softer, prettier version of itself. Vanessa had moved the bed, draped my quilt over the back of a chair, and placed both plants by the window. The judgmental birds hung over the dresser. Mom looked around, lips pressed together. "It's dark in here." "It faces north," I said. "Vanessa needs sunlight right now. I'll rotate the house." She touched the comforter. "This is thin." It was thicker before she moved the bed toward Canada. Vanessa, behind us, gave me a warning look. Mom turned. "Have you heard from Mark?" "Not since Tuesday. He's punishing her." "He's giving her space," I said. "No one asked you, Claire. We were standing in my house." Vanessa saw my face. "Mom, stop." "What?" "I'm trying to understand. You're making it worse." Mom looked wounded. "I brought you food, and I appreciate it." "Do you?" "Because lately, every time I open my mouth, someone acts like I'm interfering." Daniel appeared in the doorway. "Who wants coffee?" Mom pointed at him. "Thank you. At least one person in this house knows how to receive help." He looked at me over her shoulder. "Coffee," I said. "Strong." Downstairs, Mom cornered me while Daniel made a pot and Vanessa took Dad's call in the living room. "You need to be gentler with her," she whispered. "I gave her a room. A room is not emotional support. I'm aware." The casserole made that clear. Mom glanced toward the living room. She told me about the clothes. She took my robe and Daniel's shirt. She was embarrassed. So was I. "I'm apparently running a nudist colony with a dress code. This isn't funny. It's a little funny." Mom sighed. "You've always used jokes when you don't want to admit you're hurt." That silenced me. My mother occasionally understood me with such accuracy that I forgot how selectively she used the information. "I'm not hurt," I said. "Then what are you?" "Tired. Of your sister after 2 weeks? Of being told how to feel about having another adult in my house?" Daniel slid a mug onto the counter between us. Mine. The cream-colored one with the chip. Mom watched him. "She takes such good care of everyone, doesn't she?" He smiled. "She does." My mother's eyes returned to me. There was triumph in them, small and strange, as if his answer proved I could continue indefinitely. Vanessa quit the gallery the following Wednesday. She announced it over dinner, waiting until I had taken a bite too large to respond elegantly. "My manager said I seemed distracted and unreliable," she said. "So I told her I was done letting that place drain me." Daniel paused with his water glass halfway to his mouth. "Did you quit or did she fire you?" "I quit before she could." I swallowed. "What's your plan?" Vanessa's shoulders dropped. "Can I have one meal? You brought it up, because this is supposed to be a safe place. It's a dining room." Daniel put down his glass. "The interior styling program?" The deadline passed. "You knew the deadline," I said. "I was leaving my marriage. You were also shopping online for lamps. They were having a sale." I looked at Daniel. He was pressing his lips together. "Don't laugh," Vanessa said. "I'm not." "You are." "I'm breathing through my nose." She smiled despite herself. I pushed rice around my plate. March 28th is still the date. Her smile disappeared. I didn't say it wasn't. I'm making sure. Thank you. I'd forgotten the countdown for almost 3 full minutes. She stood and carried her plate to the sink. Daniel waited until we heard the guest room door close. That could have gone better. She quit her job. Maybe it was a bad job. It was the job paying her money. She'll find another one. How? He frowned. The usual way? With what urgency? She thinks March 28th is a personal attack. She said she understood. You believe her? I believe she heard you. I laughed once. That's not an answer. He leaned back in his chair. What do you want me to say? That I'm not a monster for expecting an adult woman to support herself? I don't think you're a monster. Do you think I'm being harsh? He took too long. Daniel, I think you decide what people are going to ask from you, then get angry before they ask. My fork stopped. That sounded rehearsed. It wasn't. Did Vanessa say that? No. Did my mother? No. Then where did it come from? He rubbed his thumb against the edge of his plate. From knowing you for 12 years. The answer hurt because it belonged to him. I stood and began clearing the table. Claire, I have work. You just got home, and now I have more. He caught my wrist gently as I reached for his plate. I'm not attacking you. I know. You don't have to do everything. The laugh came out before I could stop it. You say that while I'm standing in a house where your friend can't visit because my sister is living upstairs. Nate preferred the hotel. He did not prefer the La Quinta. Daniel smiled, but I didn't. He released my wrist. That night, I woke around 1 and found his side of the bed empty. Light shone beneath the bedroom door. I walked into the hallway and heard Vanessa crying downstairs. Not the muffled crying she did when she wanted privacy. The loose, gasping kind that made my irritation vanish before I reached the bottom step. She sat on the kitchen floor with her back against the cabinets. Daniel crouched a few feet away, still in his sleep shirt. Her phone lay between them. Mark filed, she said when she saw me. I sat beside her. For a long time, she couldn't speak. She folded over my lap the way she had when we were younger and something in the world felt too large. I stroked her hair while Daniel brought tissues and water. He didn't even call me, she whispered. You left him, I said gently. I know. That was the first honest thing any of us had said all day. She gripped my hand. Across the kitchen, Daniel watched us with an expression I couldn't read. I held my sister until morning, while the March 28th deadline waited upstairs on the calendar, already beginning to look cruel. By 6 the next morning, Vanessa had fallen asleep with her cheek against my thigh. My left foot was numb. Daniel sat at the table in front of 3 untouched cups of coffee, staring through the dark window over the sink. Help me move her, I whispered. Vanessa opened one eye. I'm awake. You're drooling on me. I'm grieving. Grieve 6 inches to the right. Daniel laughed quietly. She pushed herself upright, hair stuck to her face. I'm sorry, you didn't file. I still left. Yes. I thought he'd fight for me. There it was. Not the whole truth, probably, but enough of it to change the air. Daniel leaned forward. Did you want to go back? I wanted him to want me to. That's not the same thing. I know. She looked at him when she said it. Not me. I stretched my leg and felt needles race from my heel to my hip. You should talk to a lawyer. Vanessa flinched. Not this morning, I added, but soon. Mom will know someone. Mom knows a man who argued with a parking meter for 40 minutes. He won, Daniel said. The meter ran out. Vanessa smiled, then covered her mouth as though Mark might hear her laughing and use it as proof. I called my supervisor and took the morning off. Daniel offered to do the same, but I told him one of us should remain employable. He showered, kissed the top of my head, and left after making Vanessa promise to eat something. At 10, Mom arrived without knocking. She still had the spare key from when Daniel and I took a trip to Vermont 3 years earlier. I heard the lock turn, and then her voice. Vanessa? She walked into the living room carrying an overnight bag, though nobody had invited her to spend the night. "What is that?" I asked. "Clothes? For whom?" "For me. I'm not leaving her alone today. I'm here." Mom set the bag beside the couch. "You have work." I took the morning. "And this afternoon?" I looked toward the stairs. Vanessa was in the shower. This afternoon she might want privacy. No one wants privacy after being abandoned. She wasn't abandoned. My mother's face sharpened. Her husband filed without warning. She moved out. "Why do you keep saying that like you're on his side?" "I'm on the side of events happening in the order they happened." She removed her coat. "Sometimes your need to be technically correct is very cold. You mean chronological. I mean cruel." The shower turned off upstairs. Mom lowered her voice. "You are not putting her out on March 28th. I stared at her. "She told you?" She was crying. She was crying about the divorce, among other things. "Mom, it is my house. It is also Daniel's." That landed exactly where she intended. He agreed to 6 weeks. Before this happened. You mean before the man she left accepted that she left? Mom picked up her bag. "I'm going to make up the couch. You're not staying." "Claire, you live 15 minutes away. I don't want Vanessa waking up tonight and feeling alone. She lives with 2 people." Mom smiled sadly. "You have never understood the difference between being present and making someone feel held. I should have told her to leave." Instead, I went upstairs, changed into work clothes, and drove to the office with one pant leg still damp from brushing against the bathroom sink. When I got home, Mom had made chicken soup, stripped the guest room bed, and moved our good pillows upstairs because Vanessa needed proper neck support. My pillows were not decorative or sentimental. They had been expensive and they were shaped for the way I slept. I found one beneath Vanessa's head while she lay propped against the headboard scrolling through job listings. "Hey," she said cautiously. "Where's Mom?" Dad called. "The washing machine is leaking." Of course it was. Appliances were the one category of distress Mom considered masculine. I picked up the second good pillow from the floor. "Mom brought those in here," Vanessa said. "I know. I didn't ask her to." "I know." She put down her phone. "Do you?" I looked at her. "You do that thing where you say, you know, but what you mean is I'm still responsible. What would you like me to say? That Mom is impossible. Mom is impossible. And that I'm not her." I tucked the pillow under my arm. "You're not her." She studied my face. "You don't believe that." "Vanessa, I'm tired. So am I. You've been lying in bed." Her mouth fell open. I regretted it immediately, but exhaustion can make regret feel like something scheduled for later. "I filed 3 applications," she said. "That's good." I called the Chicago program. They have a late admission process. "That's also good. You sound like a nurse congratulating me for urinating." I laughed before I could help it. She smiled. "There she is." I sat on the edge of the bed, still holding my pillow. Vanessa reached over and plucked a loose thread from my sleeve. "Do you remember when Mom made you give me that green dress? The one Grandma bought me? I thought you'd forgotten. You spilled red punch down the front. You told everyone it looked better. It did not. I knew that." Her fingers went still. "I knew you wanted it." I looked at her. "You were 16, she continued. "You wore it around the house before your winter dance, just to make sure you could sit in it. I watched you. Why did you ask for it?" "I didn't. Mom said green was my color." That was true. Mom had brought Vanessa into my room while I was getting ready and said the dress made me look pale. Vanessa was going to a birthday dinner that night. Somehow, 10 minutes later, she was wearing it. "You could have said no," I said. "I was 14. So was I, basically. You were 16. In our family, that made you middle management." I looked down at the pillow in my lap. Vanessa touched my arm. "I'm sorry about the robe, and the shirt, and the boxes. The boxes are gone. The bird pictures came back. They're very resilient. I'm not trying to take over your house. I know." This time, I tried to mean it. She leaned her head against my shoulder. "Can we talk about the date?" There it was. I let out a breath through my nose. "I'll get a job," she said. "I'll pay you rent. I just can't sign a lease while the divorce is starting. I don't even know what I can afford. That part is reasonable. I can be out by May 1st, April 15th. Claire, May 1st and you pay for groceries. Yes. And no more clothes, even yours, especially mine." She squeezed my arm. "Thank you." I carried my pillow back to my bedroom, feeling both closer to my sister and vaguely robbed. Daniel was sitting on the edge of the bed, loosening his tie. "Your mom left me a voicemail," he said. "Did she thank you for your service? She told me to talk sense into you. Did you?" "I'm waiting to find out what sense is." I put the pillow down. "May 1st. His eyebrows lifted. "She asked for an extension. She's applying for jobs." "Okay. You can pretend to be less relieved. I'm not relieved. You look relieved." "I'm tired, Claire." The repetition of my own words made me angrier than it should have. You think I was wrong about March. I think circumstances changed. Because Mark filed? Because she has nowhere to go. She has Mom and Dad's house. He lay back across the bed. "You know what living with your mother would be like? For Vanessa? Spa services with light criticism?" He smiled. I didn't. "She promised May 1st, I said. Then May 1st. I changed clothes in the bathroom, something I had not done in years. Vanessa got a job 9 days later at a home furnishing showroom called Field and Nest. The name sounded like a place that sold blankets to people afraid of color. She worked 4 afternoons a week and every other Saturday arranging displays, advising customers, and posting photographs online. She was good at it. Within days, the showroom's social media stopped looking like evidence from an estate sale. Vanessa rearranged a wall of mirrors, and 3 sold before lunch. Her manager asked her to help style an apartment for a catalog shoot. We celebrated with pizza and a bottle of sparkling wine Daniel brought home. "To gainful employment," I said. "To becoming a contributing member of this complicated household," Vanessa replied. Daniel raised his glass. "To the end of sodium-conscious casserole." We clinked. Vanessa paid for the pizza. She also handed me $200 for groceries, tucked inside a card with the judgmental birds drawn on the front. I hugged her. For a little while, May 1st felt real. Her schedule overlapped strangely with Daniel's. He worked from home on Mondays and Fridays, when she started at noon. I left before 7:30, so they had the kitchen to themselves in the mornings. I knew this because they began referring to conversations I hadn't heard. "Tell her what you said about the brass lamp," Vanessa told him one night. Daniel laughed. "No, you have to." "What brass lamp?" I asked. "The ugly one at work. He said it looked like a trumpet lost its purpose." "It did," Daniel said. Vanessa pointed at me. "See? That face. She thinks it's funny, I do. Then laugh." I smiled. Claire smiles at jokes like she's approving an expense report. Daniel nearly choked on his water. I laughed, but it came out thin. A week later, I came downstairs and found a small coffee grinder on the counter. "What's that?" I asked. Daniel looked up from his laptop. Vanessa brought home some whole bean coffee. "We own coffee. We own ground coffee." "It was free," Vanessa said. She was wearing her work apron over a cream blouse. A vendor left samples. Daniel poured beans into the grinder. "Apparently this is Ethiopian. Can it still be made in Ohio?" He grinned. "You're gonna like it. I like the coffee we buy. You haven't tried this." The grinder screamed to life. Vanessa covered her ears and laughed. Daniel laughed because she was laughing. I stood on the other side of the counter in my coat, waiting for the two of them to finish discovering beans. Daniel handed me my travel tumbler. Cream, 1 sugar. Vanessa lifted the chipped cream-colored mug. Cream, no sugar. Their cups touched in the air as he passed hers over. Not a toast. Not even contact either of them noticed. I noticed. The coffee was excellent, which somehow made it worse. May first arrived with rain. Vanessa left early for the catalog shoot wearing a new green dress and carrying Daniel's umbrella. I stood at the front window as his car pulled away from the curb. He offered to drop me off, she'd called, already halfway out the door. Daniel had not asked whether I needed the car. On the kitchen counter, beside the coffee grinder, sat an unopened box from a housewares store. The shipping label had Vanessa's name on it. The address was ours. Inside the box were 6 wooden hangers, a set of linen drawer organizers, and a lavender sachet shaped like a heart. Nothing cost more than $30. Nothing was incriminating. It was worse than a suitcase because suitcases implied leaving. I put everything back and carried the box upstairs. Vanessa's room was neat. The bed was made, the plants were thriving, and the judgmental birds watched from above the dresser. On the desk lay a stack of paint samples from Field and Nest. She had placed a framed photograph beside the lamp, her and me at my wedding, our faces pressed together, both laughing at something outside the frame. I set the box on the bed. On the nightstand, her phone charger had been attached to the wall with one of those little adhesive clips. That nearly broke me. Not because I needed the room. Nate had survived the La Quinta. We had no immediate guest waiting on the porch. But I had spent 2.5 months stepping around Vanessa's uncertainty, and somehow it had hardened into infrastructure. I texted her, "We need to talk tonight." 3 dots appeared, vanished, then returned. "Is this about May 1st? Yes, I'm working. Please don't do this over text. I hadn't been planning to, but the accusation was efficient enough to irritate me. Then talk tonight." Daniel did not respond when I asked what time he would be home. At 6:15, he texted that traffic was bad. At 6:40, his car pulled into the driveway with Vanessa in the passenger seat. She came in carrying his umbrella, though the rain had stopped. "I would have taken an Uber," she said before I asked. "I was already out," Daniel added. "You work from home on Fridays." I went to pick up dry cleaning. The showroom is 20 minutes in the opposite direction. He set his keys in the bowl by the door. She called. Vanessa handed him the umbrella. "I'm going upstairs." "No," I said. "We need to talk." She stopped on the 3rd step. Daniel looked between us. "Should I stay?" Vanessa and I said together. For one absurd second, we both almost smiled. Then she came back down and sat on the couch. I took the chair across from her. Daniel remained standing until I looked at the empty end of the couch, and then he sat beside my sister. He seemed to realize it at the same moment I did. His body shifted as if he might get up, but moving would have made the choice larger. I folded my hands in my lap. "It's May 1st. "I know," Vanessa said. "What's your plan?" "I called 3 apartment complexes." "When?" "This week. Did you apply?" "No." "Why not?" She looked at Daniel, then caught herself and looked at me. "The cheapest one wants first month, last month, and a deposit. My lawyer said not to make any big financial decisions until Mark responds to the settlement proposal." "What big financial decision?" "Shelter." "I have a limited amount of money right now. You're working." "Part-time. You said you could contribute and save." "I did contribute. $200. That's what you asked for. I didn't know I also had to price the eviction package." Her face reddened. "You really want me gone. I want you to do what you said you would do. They're not the same thing. Right now they are." Daniel leaned forward, forearms on his knees. "Can we talk about what's realistic?" I turned to him. "We agreed on May 1st. I know." "No, you agreed when I said it. That's different." Vanessa stood. "I'm not going to sit here while you fight about me." "We're fighting with you," I said. "It only looks like a marriage problem because Daniel is sitting on your side." He got up immediately. Vanessa stared at me. That was ugly. It was geography. You always do that. You say something cruel, then act like the wording makes it neutral. And you always make a promise, then act like circumstances signed it for you. "Enough," Daniel said. The word came out harder than he intended. The room went silent. He rubbed both hands over his face. "Sorry, this is going nowhere." "Then where should it go?" I asked. He looked at Vanessa. "Can you give us a minute?" She nodded and walked upstairs, taking his umbrella with her again. When her door closed, I said, "She called you. Her shoot ran late. She has my number. You were at work. So were you, supposedly." I told you I went out, after I asked what time you'd be home. He exhaled. What are we actually talking about? May 1st. No, we're not. I stood because sitting made me feel interviewed. Do you want her to stay? Not indefinitely. That wasn't my question. She needs another month. She's had another month. She also found a job and started a divorce. She left a job, found a job, and started a divorce she claimed she wanted when she arrived. You make everything sound easy when you list it. That's rich coming from a man whose part in this is carrying boxes and making coffee. His face changed. I knew before he spoke that I had hit something unrelated to Vanessa. You think that's all I do in this situation? Pretty much. You don't notice half of what I do, Claire. Then tell me. He looked toward the stairs. That was answer enough. You talked to her, I said. She's here. How much? I don't know. We have coffee, sometimes lunch. Lunch? I work 10 feet from the kitchen. Do you tell her things about us? No. The answer was too fast. What things? Nothing private. Daniel. He paced to the window, then back. She asks about my work, my family, things I want to do. I ask about your work. You ask if the quarterly reports are done, because you complain about the quarterly reports. Exactly. I stared at him. He softened immediately. That came out wrong. No, it came out finished. It's not what you think. I haven't told you what I think. You think there's something happening, is there? No. He held my eyes. I wanted the speed of that answer to comfort me. It didn't. Then why do I feel like I'm interrupting every time I enter my own kitchen? His mouth opened, but no words came. Upstairs, a floorboard creaked. June 1st, I said. She leaves June 1st. He nodded. And I'm telling her, because apparently when you agree, it has an expiration date. That night, Vanessa accepted the new deadline without argument. She also stopped drinking coffee downstairs in the mornings. For 8 days, she stayed politely out of my way. Her dishes disappeared before I saw them. She bought groceries and labeled nothing. She did not ask Daniel for rides. When Mom called, Vanessa took the phone outside. The house became so quiet, I missed her. That was the part no one ever understood about my sister. Loving Vanessa was not an uninterrupted act of martyrdom. She could be generous in ways that had nothing to do with duty. She remembered the exact candy I liked from a store we visited once. She could tell from the way I shut a drawer whether I was angry or only rushed. She made dull rooms feel briefly more alive. On the 9th evening, I came home to find the dining table covered in fabric samples, candles, and grocery store flowers. Vanessa stood behind a chair, chewing her lip. What happened? Nothing. Sit down. Why? Because you look like someone tried to fax you. I put my bag on the floor. Is that an appearance? It is on you. She pulled out the chair. On the table was chicken from the place I loved, roasted potatoes, and a bowl of green beans Daniel usually declared too squeaky to eat. A lemon cake sat on the counter. What's this? You got promoted. I stared at her. My supervisor had told me that afternoon. I had been made operations director after 6 years of doing most of the job under a different title. I didn't tell you. You told Mom. I called Dad. Mom answered, and Mom called me. There was a tiny delay before she added, Daniel's getting wine. I looked around the room again. The candles were low, unscented, and exactly the color of the wall. Vanessa had folded the napkins into loose knots and used sprigs of rosemary from the pot outside. You did all this? You've worked really hard. My throat tightened. She came around the table and hugged me. I'm proud of you. I held her harder than I meant to. Daniel walked in 10 minutes later with 2 bottles of wine and a bouquet of tulips. He kissed me, spun me once in the entryway, and said, Director Bennett, with such exaggerated reverence that I laughed into his neck. Dinner was easy. Too easy. Daniel told the story of the time I corrected a vice president's math in front of 40 people. Vanessa made him reenact my expression. I told them both it wasn't accurate, though it was. After the second bottle, we moved to the living room. Vanessa put on music from her phone. Daniel knew the first song. "You hate this band," I said. "I've evolved." Vanessa grinned. "I've been educating him." There was that word again. She got up to change the song. Daniel watched her cross the room, not hungrily, not obviously, fondly. I knew the difference because he had looked at me that way for years. Vanessa turned around and he looked down at his glass. I went to bed before either of them. Daniel came upstairs 20 minutes later. "You okay?" he asked. "Fine. You left your own celebration." "I'm tired." He sat on the edge of the bed. Tonight was nice. It was. She went to a lot of trouble. She did. He waited. I looked at him. "What? You're angry at her for doing something nice." "No. I'm angry at myself for needing it." He reached for my hand. I let him take it. "You deserve to be celebrated," he said. "Did you know? About the promotion?" Vanessa texted me. "When?" "This afternoon." "No. Did you know she was doing all this? She asked me to pick up wine. That's not what I mean." His grip loosened. I sat up. "Do you like her? She's your sister." "That isn't an answer. Of course I like her. You know what I'm asking." He looked exhausted suddenly. Older. "I'm not having an affair with Vanessa." "I didn't use that word. You didn't have to." Silence pressed against the room. Finally he said, "She makes me feel like what I say matters." The sentence did not sound romantic. That made it more dangerous. "And I don't? You make me feel like what I do matters." I pulled my hand away. He closed his eyes. "Claire, that's not an insult. It's not a compliment. I love you." "I know." He looked at me sharply. It was my mother's phrase, flattened into 2 words. "You are strong. You are capable. You are useful." Daniel reached for me again. I lay down and turned off the lamp. In the dark, he said my name once. I pretended to be asleep. The next morning, Vanessa's charger was no longer clipped to the guest room wall. For one hopeful second, I thought she had started packing. Then I found it plugged in beside the coffee grinder downstairs. I unplugged the charger and carried it upstairs. Vanessa was awake, sitting cross-legged on the bed with her laptop open. "You left this downstairs." She looked at the cord in my hand. "Thanks." I placed it beside her. "Did I do something?" I almost admired the question. So small. So available for an innocent answer. "Daniel and I talked last night." Her face changed, though not in a way I could name. "About your promotion? About you?" She closed the laptop. "He told me you two have lunch together. We've eaten lunch in the same house." "Don't do that." "Do what?" "Make the wording innocent so I sound insane for noticing." Her mouth tightened. "Nothing has happened." "That's exactly what he said, because it's true. You text him more than you text me. You work all day. So does he. He works here. You don't need to text someone in the same house." She looked toward the open door, checking the hallway. "He's my friend, Claire. He's my husband. I'm aware. Are you?" She stood and crossed her arms. "You think I'm trying to steal Daniel? I think you like being wanted." The sentence hit. I saw it. Vanessa's eyes filled, but she didn't look away. "And you like being needed. What is that supposed to mean?" "It means you invite people to depend on you and then hate them for doing it." I laughed once. "I didn't invite you?" "No. You just said yes and made sure I felt the cost every day. You've been here past 2 deadlines. The second one isn't until tomorrow. Are you leaving tomorrow?" She said nothing. I nodded. "Right. I applied for an apartment." "When?" "Yesterday." "Which one?" "Why, so you can call and check. So I know whether you're actually leaving." She flinched as if I'd raised my voice. I hadn't. "I am not interested in your husband," she said. "Then stop building a separate relationship with him. He's a person, Claire. I don't need to access him through you." My hands went cold. That was the first moment I truly hated her. It lasted less than a second, but I felt its clean edge. "You need to leave my room," she said. I looked around. The words were so absurd that neither of us moved. Then Vanessa covered her face with both hands. Oh my God. Yeah. I didn't mean, I know whose room it is. I walked out before she could turn her mistake into something I had to comfort her through. Daniel was in the office downstairs wearing a headset. He looked up as I passed, but I kept going. At work, I sat through a budget meeting and remembered almost nothing that was said. The numbers moved across the screen in tidy columns while my mind returned to one sentence. I don't need to access him through you. At noon, Daniel texted, "Can we have dinner tonight?" Just us. I stared at the message. Yes. Then, because apparently 12 years of marriage could reduce a person to punctuation, I added a period. Yes. He sent back a heart. I hated that it worked. We went to an Italian restaurant we'd loved when we first started dating. It had moved into a larger space and replaced the red vinyl booths with gray upholstered chairs that made the room look like a dentist's office serving wine. Daniel had reserved a corner table. "You remembered?" I said. "You think I forget everything. I think you forget restaurants. I forget new restaurants. This one is historical, like a battlefield, like a monument to the night you pretended to like anchovies. I was trying to seem sophisticated. You gagged into your napkin. The napkin was discreet. You asked the waiter if there was a polite way to spit." I smiled. He reached across the table. "I've missed you. You live with me." "I know." We ordered. He put his phone face down beside his plate, then seemed to reconsider and slipped it into his jacket pocket. "I talked to Vanessa," he said. My smile disappeared. "She told me." "When?" "This morning. You had time before work?" She came downstairs, upset. Of course she had. "What did she tell you?" "That you think we're too close." "Do you?" He rubbed his thumb over the stem of his water glass. "I think the situation got blurry." "That sounds like weather." "Okay." I let it get blurry. The admission loosened something in my chest. "I like talking to her," he continued. "She's interested in things I haven't talked about in a long time." "What things?" "Travel, music, whether I want to keep doing the same work for another 10 years. You could talk to me about those things." "I know. Why didn't you?" He looked down. I had expected him to blame me again. His silence was worse. "I didn't think you had room," he said. The waiter arrived with bread. We both thanked him too enthusiastically. When he left, I tore a piece in half but didn't eat it. "I have room for you. You have room for problems. I didn't want to become one." The sentence was unfair and honest. Those were the hardest kind. You don't get to decide I'm unavailable and then create an emotional side door through my sister. "I know." "Do you?" "Yes." He reached across the table. I let his hand rest over mine. "No more private texts," I said. "No more rides unless I know. No more lunches that somehow become conversations about our marriage. We don't talk about our marriage. You talk about me." He didn't deny it. "Do you want her?" I asked. "No." The answer came quickly, but this time he looked frightened by how much I needed it. "Has she said she wants you?" "No." "Has she touched you?" He frowned. "She touches everyone. That isn't what I asked." "No, not like that." I nodded. He squeezed my hand. "I love you. I love you too." It was true. The truth did not fix anything, but it gave us somewhere to sit. After dinner, we walked 2 blocks in warm rain because Daniel had parked in the wrong garage. He put his jacket over my head. I told him it wasn't a romantic gesture if he had caused the walk, and he said all romance required poor planning. In the car, he kissed me. Not my forehead. Not the automatic touch of lips before sleep. He put his hand at the back of my neck and kissed me until I remembered the man who used to invent reasons to miss highway exits. When we pulled apart, I laughed from embarrassment and relief. "Historical," he said. "Shut up." For one night, I believed attention could be turned back toward a marriage like a lamp. Vanessa's apartment application was denied the next afternoon because her income was too low. She had not asked whether the complex accepted a guarantor. She had not applied anywhere else. June first arrived, and she went to work. I moved her suitcases from the guest room closet into the hallway. Mom arrived at 4. I was still at the office when she called. "Did you put Vanessa's belongings outside her room?" "I put her suitcases in the hallway. What are you trying to accomplish?" Movement. "She cannot qualify for an apartment. She can move in with you. That would be a terrible step backward." "For whom?" "Don't start." "You called me." Mom lowered her voice. "Daniel thinks she should stay." I closed my office door. "Did he tell you that?" "He said she needs time." "When did you speak to Daniel?" "This morning." My stomach tightened. "Why?" "I called to ask what you were doing." "You called him to discuss a decision about my house." "His house, too." There it was again. I drove home furious enough that the 40-minute commute felt like 6. Mom, Vanessa, and Daniel were all in the living room when I walked in. Dad sat in the armchair nearest the window, looking as if he had been brought as a neutral observer and regretted accepting transportation. Mom stood. "Before you say anything, Claire, no one called me before holding a meeting in my living room, so no one gets to manage how I enter it." Daniel rose from the couch. I didn't know she was coming over. Mom turned to him. "You said we needed to talk as a family. I said you needed to talk to Claire." "Same thing." "It is not," I said. Vanessa remained seated, hands folded tightly in her lap. Dad cleared his throat. "Can we all lower the temperature?" "No one is yelling, Robert," Mom said. "I meant emotionally." Mom ignored him. "Vanessa has done everything you asked. She found a job. She contributes. She applied for an apartment. One apartment. She cannot manufacture an income. She can work full-time. The showroom hasn't offered full-time. Then she can find another job." Vanessa looked up. "I like my job. I like my house." Mom stared at me as if I had slapped someone. Daniel stepped closer. "Claire, nobody is saying she stays forever. Then give me a date." He looked at Vanessa. That look decided it. "June 30th, I said. "No extensions. If she doesn't have an apartment, she goes to Mom and Dad's." Mom's face hardened. "You are punishing her because you feel threatened." "By what?" My voice came out very quiet. Mom glanced at Daniel and made the mistake of hesitating. Vanessa stood. "Stop, I'm defending you. No, you're making it worse. You told me Claire has been jealous since you moved in." The room went still. Vanessa's face drained. "I said she was acting jealous," she whispered. "About Daniel," Mom added, because she had never known when to stop digging once she found bone. Daniel looked at me. "Claire." I laughed, though nothing was funny. "Well, that's efficient." Vanessa stepped toward me. I was upset. "Were you wrong?" She opened her mouth. Mom answered for her. "Of course she was. Daniel loves you. Everyone knows that." The reassurance made me feel sick. Dad stood slowly. "Marlene, maybe we should go." Mom picked up her purse with a sharp motion. "Fine. Clearly my concern is unwelcome." "Your key," I said. She stopped. "What?" "You still have our spare key. Give it back." Her face changed from anger to disbelief. "Claire, don't be ridiculous, my key." Daniel said my name under his breath. I looked at him. "Do you object?" He didn't answer. Mom took the key from her purse and slapped it onto the coffee table. Dad gave me a small, apologetic look as he followed her out. The front door closed. Vanessa stared at the key. "June 30th, I said. Then I went upstairs and carried the suitcases back into the guest room. Not because I had changed my mind, because I was tired of tripping over them. Daniel kept his promise about boundaries. He stopped mentioning lunches. Vanessa stopped asking for rides where I could hear her. His phone no longer lit up with message previews when it sat on the counter. For 3 weeks, everything looked better. That was how I knew it wasn't. The message previews were still turned off when Daniel left his phone beside me on the couch. We were watching a cooking show neither of us liked enough to follow. His phone vibrated once against the cushion. The screen showed only the word message. He reached for it calmly. "Who is it?" I asked. He looked at the screen. Vanessa. What does she want? She's asking if I use the last of the oat milk. She's upstairs. I know. Then why is she texting you? He locked the phone. Because she's upstairs. That was almost funny. What did you tell her? That there's another carton in the garage refrigerator. You could have said it out loud. And then you would have asked why I knew she wanted oat milk. I'm asking anyway. He turned off the television. What do you want me to do, Claire? Hand you my phone every time it makes a noise? No. Then what? I want not to feel like the only person who doesn't know what's happening in my house. He placed the phone on the coffee table between us. Nothing is happening. You turned off the previews. Because you looked at them. I saw them. Looking implies effort. See? This is what I mean. Every normal thing becomes evidence. Normal things don't need hiding. I wasn't hiding. I was trying to prevent this exact conversation. You can't prevent a conversation by making sure I know less. He stood and went into the kitchen. I waited for the garage refrigerator to open. A moment later, the back door clicked. Vanessa came down several minutes after that, glanced at the oat milk on the counter, and carried it upstairs without speaking. They had become careful enough to make me feel cruel for noticing the care. The deadline approached through a series of small domestic lies. Vanessa said she had eaten when there were 3 plates in the dishwasher. Daniel said he had run errands when the receipt in his pocket included a candle from Field and Nest. It was for his office, he explained. Vanessa received an employee discount. He began taking work calls on the back patio. She began watering the plants at the same time. Neither one touched the other in front of me. I almost preferred the hand on his arm. On June 27th, Vanessa announced that she had been approved for an apartment. She stood in the kitchen holding up her phone like a winning lottery ticket. I got it. I looked at the screen. There was an email from the leasing office welcoming her to Brookhaven Terrace. When do you move in? July 5th. Your deadline is June 30th. Her face fell. Daniel turned from the stove. It's 5 days. I know how calendars work. The unit isn't ready, Vanessa said. They're cleaning the carpet, then stay with Mom for 5 days. Claire. It's what we agreed. I can move my things into storage, but Mom and Dad don't have an actual bed set up. They have 3 empty bedrooms. Mom turned one into a sewing room, one is Dad's office, and one is full of exercise equipment. Then she can sleep on the treadmill, I said to Daniel. She's emotionally exhausted. He did not smile. Vanessa put down her phone. You need me out that badly? I need one thing to happen when you say it will. This one is happening. 5 days late. My entire life has changed, and you're counting days. My life changed too. You just stayed in the guest room while it happened. Daniel shut off the burner. Let's not ruin good news. I looked at him. Did you already know? His eyes shifted. Vanessa answered. I told him when I got the email. Before you told me? He helped with the application. The kitchen seemed to tilt slightly. How? He reviewed it. Why didn't you ask me? You were clear about wanting distance. Distance between you and my husband. Daniel set down the spoon. She needed proof of the household address and income information for the application. Your income? No. Hers. Then why did she need you? Because he doesn't make me feel stupid every time I ask a question, Vanessa snapped. Silence followed. Her expression folded immediately. I'm sorry. No, you're not. I am. Then stay with Mom for 5 days. She looked at Daniel. Not long. Not dramatically. Long enough. She can stay, he said. I laughed. He stepped toward me. Claire, come on, you just overruled me. It's my house, too. There it was, finally spoken by him instead of my mother. Vanessa closed her eyes. I'll go to Mom's. No, I said. Stay. Claire, I'm tired of being the only person in this house whose no is treated like the beginning of negotiations. Stay until July 5th. Stay until the carpet develops emotional readiness. I went upstairs and shut our bedroom door. Daniel slept on the couch that night. The next morning, he left a cup of coffee outside the door. My travel tumbler, cream, and 1 sugar. It was the kind of gesture that once would have felt like care. Now it felt like proof he still knew the settings. Mom called that afternoon and told me Dad had an appointment with a cardiologist the following Thursday. Nothing urgent. His regular doctor had heard something probably innocent and wanted it checked. Mom said she couldn't take him because Vanessa needed help preparing for her move. Preparing how? I asked. She's overwhelmed. She works in home furnishings. That has nothing to do with moving. It has more to do with moving than I do with cardiology. Mom sighed. Claire, your father is nervous. That ended it. Dad denied being nervous the entire drive. I'm not nervous, he said for the third time while gripping the passenger side door handle. You're bending the car. I don't like this exit. You've taken this exit for 30 years. Never liked it. At the medical center, he filled out each form with painful care, reading the privacy statement as if there might be a trick question at the end. When the nurse called his name, he stood, sat back down to gather 3 magazines he hadn't realized were on his lap, then handed them to me. You don't want garden gun? Why would a garden need a gun? I think they're separate interests. They shouldn't be. The appointment lasted less than an hour. The cardiologist wanted another test but saw no reason for alarm. Dad's relief took the form of criticizing the parking garage. I offered to take him to lunch. I'd like that, he said, then looked at his watch. But your mother thinks I'm coming straight home. Are you on parole? She's making tuna salad. That's worse. He laughed. On the drive back, he was quiet until we turned onto his street. Your mother says things are tense at your house. My mother makes things tense by describing them. Vanessa's leaving Saturday. Supposedly, she is. I glanced at him. He watched the houses pass. Your sister has always needed more. More what? Everything. And you've always given it to her. He nodded slowly. So have you. I pulled into the driveway. Dad unfastened his seatbelt but didn't open the door. That wasn't fair, he said. It was accurate. Those aren't always different. He put one hand on my shoulder. I know we lean on you. It was not an apology. It was closer than he had ever come. Mom opened the front door before we reached it. You're early, she said. The appointment went well, Dad told her. Did you ask about the test? He answered the questions. Did you write anything down? I was in the room, Marlene. You forget. I drove him, I said. I did not attend on his behalf. Mom's eyes flicked to me. Vanessa's at your house. The showroom let her leave early to pack. Good. She may need help. I've done my shift. I kissed Dad's cheek and left before tuna salad became mandatory. I should have gone back to the office. I had blocked out the afternoon, though, and for once the idea of entering my own house when no one expected me felt luxurious. Daniel's car was in the driveway. I assumed he was working from home. The front door was unlocked. 2 empty boxes stood in the entryway. A roll of packing tape lay on the stairs, stuck to the wood by its own loose end. I heard Vanessa say, "We can't." Daniel answered too quietly for me to make out the words. I stopped. The kitchen was just beyond the living room. I could see part of the counter, Daniel's hand braced against it, Vanessa's green dress, the same green dress she had worn to the catalog shoot. I stepped forward. They were inches apart. Vanessa's face was wet. Daniel had one hand at the side of her neck, not gripping, holding. Then he kissed her. It was not long. It was not frantic. It was almost gentle, which was worse. Vanessa pulled back first. Daniel's eyes opened and found me over her shoulder. His hand dropped. No one spoke. The refrigerator hummed. Somewhere upstairs, one of the judgmental pictures fell from the wall with a thin wooden clatter. Vanessa turned. Claire. I looked at Daniel. How many? His mouth moved before sound came. 1. How many? That was the first. Vanessa covered her mouth. I believed him. That was its own injury. Why are you home? He asked. The stupidity of the question stunned all 3 of us. I live here. I didn't mean, I know what you meant. Vanessa took a step toward me. It was a mistake. A mistake is using salt instead of sugar. I stopped it. You were already finished. I told him we couldn't. You said that before or after his hand was on your neck. She began crying harder. I have tried not to feel this. I love you. The words made something inside me go quiet. You love me. Yes. And that's what resistance looks like? She folded her arms around herself. I'm sorry. I turned to Daniel. What did you say when she told you you couldn't? He stared at the floor. What did you say? I said I didn't know how to stop. There was no defense in his voice. I almost wished there had been. I walked to the stairs and picked up the roll of packing tape. Finish packing. Vanessa wiped her face. Claire, please. You're going to Mom's today. My apartment today. Daniel stepped forward. I'll help her get the boxes. No, I'm not defending her. You're already using the word help. He stopped. I held the tape out to Vanessa. Take it. She took it. If you need him to comfort you, I said, he can leave with you. Daniel looked as if I had struck him. Vanessa whispered, I don't want him. He looked at her then. The pain on his face was small, involuntary, and unmistakable. I saw it, so did she. That was when I understood the kiss had not created the problem. It had only forced the three of us to stop calling it something else. Vanessa packed in 42 minutes. Daniel stood in the driveway but did not touch a single box. I carried the suitcase with the broken wheel. Vanessa took the plants. She left the judgmental birds on the guest room floor. Mom arrived furious before Vanessa had finished loading her car. This is not the time to make decisions, she said. It's exactly the time. She has nowhere emotionally safe to go. She has your house. Mom looked at Daniel. Tell her. He stood near the garage, pale and useless. I kissed Vanessa, he said. Mom's expression changed, but not toward him. She looked at me with alarm, as though measuring the size of the reaction she would have to manage. Claire, she began, these things happen when people are living under stress. I laughed. Vanessa put the plant into her back seat. Mom lowered her voice. We'll talk tomorrow when you're calmer. No, you'll leave. She took Vanessa home. Daniel packed an overnight bag without being asked. Where are you going? I said. A hotel, not the La Quinta. Nate said the pillows are terrible. His face crumpled for half a second. I hated myself for wanting to comfort him. He left anyway. The next morning, Mom called and said we needed to speak without Vanessa present. She asked me to come to her house, the neutral territory where every childhood argument had somehow ended with me apologizing. Dad was out getting groceries when I arrived. Mom poured coffee neither of us drank. She told me Vanessa had barely slept. She told me Daniel had led her on. She told me marriages sometimes ended because people grew in different directions. Then she leaned across the kitchen table and said, Let her keep your husband. Behind her, the back door opened. Daniel stepped inside carrying his overnight bag. Mom kept talking. You've always been stronger than your sister. You can rebuild. Vanessa can't. Daniel stopped with one hand on the door. His face changed. I looked at the bag in his hand and finally understood he had packed it for neither of us. He had packed it because, for the first time in 12 years, there was no woman waiting to tell him where he belonged. Mom noticed his shadow. She turned. Daniel looked at her and said, What the hell is wrong with you? Mom's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Daniel dropped the overnight bag beside the door. No, she said finally. You don't get to come into my house and speak to me that way. You just told my wife to give me to her sister. I was trying to help Claire accept reality. What reality? Mom looked at me as if I should explain her meaning in more reasonable language. I didn't. She lifted her chin. There is obviously something between you and Vanessa. I kissed her once. Exactly. Daniel stared at her. That is not the response you think it is. You're both adults. I'm not approving of what happened, but feelings aren't crimes. No one said they were, I said. Mom's eyes returned to me. Then why are you acting like your entire life has been destroyed? It was a good question asked, for the wrong reason. I looked at Daniel. He stood just inside the door, wrinkled shirt untucked, dark circles beneath his eyes. I could tell he hadn't slept. Some humiliating part of me wanted to know whether he had remembered his toothbrush. My life isn't destroyed, I said. Mom made a small, relieved gesture, as if I had finally begun cooperating. My marriage might be. Daniel flinched. Oh, Claire, Mom said. People survive much worse. There it is. What? Your favorite measurement. How much I can survive. That's not fair. Nothing you've said this morning has been fair. Daniel stepped closer to the table. Why would you tell her Vanessa can't rebuild? Because she can't. She found an apartment. She found a job. With everyone's help. So did the rest of us, Marlene. That's called being alive. Mom's face hardened. You don't understand my daughters. I understand that you treat one of them like she'll break, and the other like breaking doesn't count. The sentence landed with the force of something I had been waiting my whole life to hear. It did not feel as good as I expected. Mom turned to me. Did you ask him to come here? No. Then how did he know where you were? Daniel answered. I called Robert. He said she was here. Robert knew we were talking privately. Apparently, he didn't know you planned to auction off my marriage. You were being deliberately vulgar. I think you were pretty clear. She looked at his bag. What did you come here for? He looked at me. I braced myself. To tell Claire I was wrong, he said. About all of it. Mom folded her arms. Then why bring a bag? I checked out of the hotel. Something small and hopeful moved in my chest before I could stop it. He saw it. That made what came next harder. I wasn't coming home, he said quietly. I was going to ask what she wanted me to do. Mom glanced between us. Well, there you are. He wants to fix it. I stood. Both of them watched me. He came to ask me where to put himself, I said. That's not the same thing. Daniel's face changed. Claire, I didn't mean, I know. You never mean the whole thing. You mean the next 10 minutes, and I'm supposed to arrange everything after that. Mom pushed back her chair. This is turning into an attack. It was already an attack when I arrived. On me. I almost laughed. The back door opened again, and Dad entered carrying 2 grocery bags. He stopped when he saw the 3 of us. Oh, he said. A stalk of celery protruded from one bag like it had also made a poor choice. Mom pointed at Daniel. Did you tell him Claire was here? Dad looked at Daniel, then at me. He called. We were having a private conversation. You didn't say it was private. I said Vanessa wasn't invited. That's not the same thing. Daniel and I looked at each other. Mom saw us and grew angrier. Wonderful. Now everyone can enjoy this. Dad set the groceries down carefully. What happened? Your wife told Claire to let Vanessa keep me, Daniel said. Dad stared at Mom. She threw up both hands. I did not mean it literally. What part was figurative? I asked. I meant you can't force someone to love you. The room went still. Daniel's voice was low. I love Claire. Mom looked at him. Then why did you kiss Vanessa? He had no answer ready. Neither did I. Dad removed his glasses and rubbed the bridge of his nose. Marlene. What? We're all demanding honesty. No, I said. You're demanding a version where what happened proves you were right about us all along. That is not what I'm doing. It's exactly what you're doing. Vanessa wanted something, so you've decided she must need it more. A husband is not a thing. Then stop assigning mine. Mom's eyes flashed. He made a choice too. Yes. The word shut everyone up. I turned to Daniel. And her cruelty doesn't make your choices smaller. I know. You don't get to be the good man in this room because she said something worse. I know. He looked at me without pleading. That was new. I liked the attention, he said. I knew it was crossing lines before the kiss. I kept telling myself I hadn't done anything that couldn't be explained. Mom opened her mouth. Dad said, "Marlene, don't." It may have been the first time he had ever interrupted her on my behalf. Daniel continued, "When you asked for boundaries, I made it easier to hide instead of easier to stop. My throat hurt. Did you want to sleep with her?" Mom made a shocked sound. Daniel kept looking at me. I thought about it. The honesty entered like cold air. Mom whispered, "This is unnecessary." "No," I said. "This is the first necessary thing anyone has said." Daniel's eyes were wet. "I didn't plan to leave you. I didn't want a life with her." "That's not as comforting as you think." "I know. You wanted to keep your life and also have the part of hers that made you feel interesting." "Yes." I nodded. Mom picked up her blessed mug and carried it to the sink, though it was already empty. "Then, maybe you and Vanessa do belong together," I said. Daniel shook his head. "No." "Why?" "She sees you. She listens to your dreams. She likes your terrible new coffee." "Claire, and now that I know about it, suddenly you don't want her?" "I didn't say I didn't want her. That hurt more than the kiss." He closed his eyes. "I said I don't want a life built out of what I did to you." Dad turned away. Mom stood frozen at the sink. I picked up my purse. Daniel moved toward me. "Tell me what to do. Get an apartment." His face fell. "Not Vanessa's," I said. "Not my parents' house. Not your mother's guest room. Somewhere you have to buy your own detergent and remember when the trash goes out. I can do that. Then do it." "For how long?" "I don't know." "Are we separated?" "Yes." The word did not feel dramatic. It felt administrative, almost plain. "Are we getting divorced?" "I don't know." He nodded once. Mom turned. "You cannot make decisions like this while you're angry." I looked at her. "Watch me." I left through the front door. Daniel did not follow. At home, I walked from room to room without turning on the lights. The house was silent in a way it had never been while Vanessa lived there. No hairdryer upstairs, no music from a phone, no Daniel opening the refrigerator 3 times as if new food might appear. In the guest room, one judgmental bird lay face down on the floor. The other still hung above the dresser, slightly crooked. I picked up the fallen frame. The glass was cracked across one bird's body. I laughed until I cried, then sat on the bare mattress holding it in my lap. My phone rang 6 times that afternoon. Mom twice, Daniel once, Vanessa 3 times. Dad sent one text. "I'm sorry." I wrote back, "Me too," though I wasn't sure what either of us meant. Vanessa called again at 8. This time I answered. "Can I come over?" she asked. "No, I left some things. I'll box them." "I don't want to talk about things." "Then what do you want?" She breathed shakily. "You!" I shut my eyes. "You don't get to say that." "I know." "No, Vanessa. You don't. Not tonight. I didn't plan it." "I know." Daniel didn't plan it. Mom didn't mean it literally. Everybody keeps arriving innocent at the scene of what they chose. She began to cry. I felt the old reflex rise, lower my voice, ask whether she had eaten, tell her we would figure it out. I held the phone away from my ear until the reflex passed. "Did you want him?" I asked. She was quiet for so long I thought the call had dropped. "Yes." "Do you still?" "I don't know." "Are you going to see him?" "No." "Because you love me?" "Yes." "That didn't stop you yesterday." She made a wounded sound. I pressed my palm to my forehead. "I can't be the person who helps you feel better about hurting me. I'm not asking you to. You called me crying." She went silent. After a moment, she said, "Mom thinks Daniel used me." "What do you think?" "I think he was lonely. So were you." "Yes, and I was useful." "Claire, no. It's what both of you liked about me. I made the room safe enough for you to betray me in. That's not true. I don't know what's true." She whispered, "I'm sorry." I ended the call before I forgave her out of exhaustion. Sunday morning, Mom sent a group message asking whether dinner should be at 5 or 6. For several seconds, I wondered if she had forgotten. Then I understood. This was how she intended to make the problem survivable. Put it at a table, add potatoes, and wait for me to behave. Vanessa replied that either time worked. Dad did not answer. Daniel was still in the family group chat. He did not answer either. I typed, "I won't be there." Mom called immediately. I declined it. She called again. I turned off my phone. At 5:30, I made myself scrambled eggs and ate them over the sink. The coffee grinder sat beside me on the counter. Vanessa's charger was still plugged into the wall. I pulled it free. Then I unplugged the grinder too. I put both appliances in the pantry, behind the slow cooker we use twice a year. The counter looked strangely large without them. On Monday, I bought ground coffee from the grocery store, the familiar kind. It tasted flat and slightly burned, which was how it had always tasted before someone taught me better. I drank it anyway. Daniel came by Tuesday evening for clothes. He rang the doorbell. For 12 years, he had walked into that house carrying keys, groceries, dry cleaning, bad news, good news, and once a live turtle he found in the road. Seeing him wait on the porch with his hands empty made the separation real in a way the kiss had not. I opened the door. "Hey," he said. "Hey." He had shaved. His shirt was wrinkled. "Did you find a place? An extended stay apartment? Month to month? Does it have a kitchen, a hot plate, and a refrigerator that sounds like it's digesting something? That's homey." He smiled, then seemed ashamed of it. I stepped aside. His overnight bag sat open on our bed while he folded shirts into it. He had always packed badly. He rolled his socks but left belts loose, then complained that everything got tangled. I stood in the doorway until he looked at me. "Do you need to supervise?" "No." "Then why are you standing there?" "I don't know what I'm supposed to do while you remove yourself from the closet." He sat down on the edge of the bed. "We could talk." "About what?" "I called a counselor." I leaned against the doorframe. "For us?" "For me?" That surprised me. "I have an appointment Thursday," he said. "I also told my manager I'm going into the office for a while." "Why? Because working from home doesn't feel like a good idea. Vanessa doesn't live here anymore." "I know." He did not explain further. "Have you spoken to her?" I asked. "No." "She called?" "Yes." "How many times?" 4. I looked at his phone on the dresser. Face up now, message previews visible. What did she say? "I don't know." I didn't answer. "That's convenient." "It doesn't feel convenient." I crossed my arms. "Do you miss her?" He stared at the carpet. "Yes." The honesty was becoming exhausting. "Do you miss me?" He looked up. "All the time." "You get how those answers don't help each other." "I do." "Do you wish I hadn't come home early?" "No." You hesitated. "I wish I hadn't created anything for you to come home to." That's a counselor's sentence. "I haven't seen him yet." I almost smiled. He stood and pulled 3 pairs of pants from hangers. "Nate knows." "How?" I told him. "What did you tell him?" "That I kissed Vanessa after months of pretending an emotional affair wasn't an affair." The phrase struck me. "Did he tell you that?" "No." I knew. I looked away. Daniel folded the pants. Badly. "What did Nate say?" "He asked whether I'd lost my mind. Then he asked if you were okay." "What did you say?" "That I didn't know because you shouldn't have to manage my feelings about checking on you." I stared at him. He rubbed his forehead. "That one might be a counselor's sentence, so you haven't seen him. I read some things." "Of course you did." I also told him the La Quinta pillows were your fault. That got me. The laugh escaped before I could stop it. It was one small sound, but Daniel's whole face softened. I resented him for looking relieved. "Don't," I said. His smile disappeared. "Sorry." He zipped the bag. At the front door, he took his key off the ring. I watched him set it in the ceramic bowl. "You could keep it for now," I said. He looked at me. "I mean, your stuff is here." "No, I should ring." The fact that he understood made me want to give it back. He left it anyway. The next afternoon, I came home and found the interior garage door unlocked. I stood in the mudroom looking at it. I was almost certain I had locked it that morning. Almost wasn't enough to frighten me, but it was enough to make me walk through the house, calling Daniel's name. No answer. The guest room door was open. The remaining clothes were gone from the closet. So was the blue wool coat Vanessa had left hanging behind the door. Her charger had disappeared from the pantry counter where I'd placed it. On the bed sat a note. Took my last things. Didn't want to bother you. I'm sorry. V. I went into the office. The closet door stood open. 2 plastic bins were missing from the shelf. One contained my college photographs, yearbooks, and a stack of letters Daniel had written me during the year he lived in Phoenix. The other contained Christmas ornaments, nothing valuable except in the way objects became valuable after surviving enough moves. I called Vanessa. She answered on the second ring. Hi, how did you get into my house? I used the garage. I know you used the garage. How did you open it? The code. You knew the code? You gave it to me when I first moved in. I didn't remember doing that, but I probably had. Giving people access had always been easier than arranging to be present. You took 2 bins from the office closet. I took my bins. They're not yours. A pause. They were beside the boxes from the storage unit. They contain my things. Oh, bring them back. I'm at Mom's. I'll bring them tomorrow. Today. Claire, I have work in an hour. Then you should have checked before taking things out of my house. I thought, I don't care what you thought. Bring them back. Her voice changed. You don't have to talk to me like I broke in. You entered without permission. I used the code you gave me months ago when you lived here. I left a note. That doesn't make it permission. Fine, I'll bring them. And don't use the garage again. I wasn't planning to. You weren't planning to kiss Daniel either. I'm trying to rely less on your plans. She went silent. The satisfaction lasted half a second. Then shame rushed in behind it. I'll bring the boxes, she said, and ended the call. I changed the garage code before she arrived. The control panel was inside the garage, mounted too high for me to read without a chair. I found the manual online, climbed up, and pressed buttons until the lights blinked. The machine beeped angrily as if I were violating its trust. Vanessa returned at 6 with both bins in her trunk. Mom drove. She got out before Vanessa did. Changing the garage code is excessive, she said. I looked at Vanessa. You called Mom? I needed help carrying the boxes. They're plastic. I didn't ask her to come to the door. Mom lifted 1 bin from the trunk with a grunt. This is heavy. Put it down, Marlene, Vanessa said. You said you needed help. I said Claire was angry. Same thing lately. I took the bin from Mom and carried it inside. Vanessa followed with the second. Mom followed Vanessa. I blocked the doorway. You're not coming in. Her face tightened. I drove all the way here. 15 minutes. To support your sister. She stole my Christmas ornaments. I took the wrong boxes, Vanessa said behind her. I know, I'm illustrating the absurdity. Mom folded her arms. What happened to you? I almost asked when. After the kiss? After the mug? After the dress? After the green dress she gave away when I was 16. Instead, I said, I changed the code because people keep treating my house like a family resource. You've always said family is welcome. I changed my mind. Mom stared at me. Vanessa set down the bin. Can I talk to you? Not tonight. Then when? I don't know. You keep saying that like I'm supposed to wait forever. Mom touched her shoulder. You shouldn't have to beg. There it was. I looked at my sister. Do you hear it? She frowned. Hear what? Every time you feel discomfort, she turns it into something I'm doing to you. Mom stepped forward. Don't involve her in your issues with me. My issues with you are standing in my mudroom. Vanessa closed her eyes. Please stop. I'm not stopping anymore. Mom's hand tightened on Vanessa's shoulder. You're upset. We'll go. Vanessa opened her eyes and looked at me. I'm sorry about the boxes. I believe you. That surprised her. I'm still changing the code. Her face hardened again. Fine. They left together. The next morning, Mom texted that Dad's follow-up test had been scheduled and asked which day I could drive him. I typed, "I can't." She replied immediately, "It's a medical appointment." I know. He gets anxious driving downtown. Then you drive. I have a commitment. What commitment? The dots appeared and disappeared several times. That wasn't my business, and she knew it. I put the phone down. Dad called half an hour later. "Your mother says you can't take me. I can't." Okay. The absence of argument made me feel worse. "Do you need help arranging a ride?" "No, I can drive." "Mom said you get anxious. Your mother says a lot of things." I smiled despite myself. "I can reschedule," I offered. "No, you don't need to. You shouldn't miss the test. I'm not going to. I'll take the highway and dislike it." Dad. I'm 67, Claire. I once drove to Tulsa with a paper map and no air conditioning. Why Tulsa? Wrong turn. I laughed. He was quiet for a moment. "You don't have to take care of everything," he said. The words would have felt different from anyone else. "Neither do you," I replied. After we hung up, guilt sat with me all morning. Then Dad texted a photograph from the medical center parking garage. His thumb covered half the lens. Made it. Terrible exit. I saved the picture. Mom stopped asking after that. She began telling. "Sunday dinner is at 6. Your father needs help moving the patio furniture. Vanessa can't get the pharmacy website to work. I answered each message the same way. I'm not available. Some requests were small. I could have completed them in less time than it took to refuse. That was the trick of the system. No single demand justified a revolution. It was only when I stopped that I saw how many directions I had been stretched. Daniel texted once a day, saw the counselor, bought detergent. Trash is Tuesday, apparently. I did not answer every message. When I did, I kept it simple. Good. Okay, yes, Tuesday. A week after he moved out, he asked if I would meet him for coffee. I almost said no. Then I remembered the chipped cream-colored mug, vanilla room spray, and a dozen mornings when I had entered my kitchen too late. I chose a diner neither of us had ever visited. Daniel was already there when I arrived. He stood when he saw me, then seemed unsure whether to hug me. I sat down. He took his seat across from me. "I ordered water," he said. "Nothing else." Good. The waitress came over. I asked for coffee. Daniel hesitated, then ordered the same. "Cream? 1 sugar?" the waitress asked me. "Black," I said. Daniel looked up. It tasted terrible. I drank it anyway. Daniel watched me take a second sip. "You hate black coffee." I'm expanding. Into bitterness? Apparently. He looked down at his cup. He had added cream but no sugar, which was not how he took it either. For a while, we sat with the sounds of forks, ice dropping into glasses, and an elderly man in the next booth explaining printer ink to someone on speakerphone. "How was counseling?" I asked. "Uncomfortable." "Good. I thought you'd say that." "What did you talk about?" "You." I set down my mug. "And Vanessa," he added, "and me." Mostly me, actually. He kept doing that annoying thing where he brought my answers back to my own behavior. Terrible technique. I may report him. I smiled despite myself. Daniel turned his spoon over between his fingers. He asked what I thought I was missing before Vanessa moved in. "What did you say?" "Nothing." "That's honest." "No, I mean I told him nothing was missing. I had you. I had our house. I had a good life. I waited." He said that wasn't an answer. "I like him. I knew you would." The waitress refilled our coffee. I held my hand over mine. Daniel thanked her. When Vanessa paid attention to me, he said after she left, I felt like an earlier version of myself. Before work became reports and the house became maintenance, and every conversation had an outcome attached to it. You could have invited me into that version. I know, you keep saying that, because the alternatives are explaining or defending, and I don't have a defense. I looked through the window. A delivery truck blocked half the parking lot. Did I make you feel uninteresting? Sometimes. The answer hurt, but it didn't surprise me anymore. And did you make me feel overworked? He nodded. Did you notice? Yes. What did you do about it? Things you could have done faster. I laughed softly. I took out trash, picked up groceries, fixed things after you noticed them. I thought I was helping you manage our life. You were. I wasn't managing it with you. There it was. Not a revelation. Just the correct arrangement of familiar words. Daniel placed the spoon beside his cup. I'm not asking to come home. Good, I want to. That's different. I know. He looked at me carefully. I want to stay married to you. I don't know if I want that. His jaw tightened, but he nodded. I don't know if wanting you is enough, I continued. I wanted you while you were making me feel crazy in my own kitchen. I know. I loved you while you hid messages. I know. I believed you when you said nothing was happening. He swallowed. I was lying before I lied. The phrase settled between us. What does that mean? I kept using the kiss as the line. If we didn't cross it, then whatever I was doing was innocent. But I knew I looked forward to her coming downstairs. I knew I checked my phone for her messages. I knew I said things to her I could have said to you. Did you tell her you loved her? No. Did you tell her you didn't? He looked away. What did you tell her? That I wasn't going to leave you? I felt cold despite the coffee. She asked. Not directly. Daniel. She said she felt guilty for wanting something that could never happen. I told her I wasn't going to leave my marriage, and she heard that you wanted her too. Yes. When? The week you got promoted. Before the deadline. Before the restaurant. Before he kissed me in the car and called it historical. I pushed my mug away. I'm sorry, he said. You knew exactly what I was afraid of. Yes. And you let me ask whether I was imagining it. Yes. His refusal to soften the answers was almost unbearable. I reached for my purse. He did not try to stop me. At the end of the booth, I paused. Did you come here because you wanted to tell me that? I came because you deserved the whole truth, even if it made you leave. You already made me leave. It's your house. You know what I mean. He nodded. Outside, the heat pressed against me. I sat in my car with the air conditioning running until my hands stopped shaking. Daniel did not text that evening. The following morning, he sent one message. I'm sorry I used honesty late and expected it to count as character. I read it 3 times, then I went to work. Work was easier after I stopped pretending my personal life wasn't happening. I didn't share details, but when my supervisor asked whether I could take on another regional project, I said no, without inventing a conflict. The word left my mouth cleanly. She blinked, checked her notes, and said, All right. For years, I had believed every refusal required a trial. It turned out some people simply adjusted. Mom did not. Her requests became complaints disguised as updates. Vanessa used my car without asking. Vanessa left the electric bill on the counter. Vanessa says the apartment isn't suitable. I answered the 3rd one. What happened to Brookhaven? Mom called before I could put down the phone. She would have been paying half her income for a box facing a parking lot. So she declined it? The lease had not been signed. Then why did she tell me she got an apartment? She was approved. She didn't realize approval meant she had to accept unsuitable conditions. Rent? She needs time. I leaned back in my office chair. So she's staying with you. For now. Good. It is not good. Your father can't work with her things in his office. She comes home at all hours. Yesterday I needed my car and it was gone. That sounds frustrating. Mom went silent, suspicious of my agreement. You could speak to her. No, she listens to you. No, she waits until I stop speaking. This family is falling apart and you seem almost pleased. I'm not pleased. You're certainly not helping. That's true. Mom lowered her voice. Daniel has rejected her completely. The word rejected told me everything about the story being built at my parents' house. What did she expect? He led her on. He did. And now he gets to disappear into some apartment while Vanessa carries all the shame. He's living alone and going to counseling. He told you that? Yes. So you're speaking to him. Sometimes. Mom exhaled sharply. I see. No, you don't. You'll forgive him and punish her. I haven't decided what I'll do with either of them. She's your sister. He's my husband. That's exactly why she needs more grace. I closed my eyes. Even now, Vanessa's relationship to me became the argument for why she should receive more. Mom, I have to work. You always have to work when the conversation becomes uncomfortable. No, I work Monday through Friday. You keep calling during business hours. I ended the call. Dad came to my house that Saturday morning carrying a cardboard tray with 2 coffees and a paper bag stained with butter. I opened the door but didn't move aside. Are you here on assignment? No. Does Mom know? She thinks I'm buying furnace filters. You don't have filters. We have a boiler. I panicked. I stepped aside. He held up the bag. Apple fritter? We sat at the kitchen table. Dad took his coffee black, not as a statement, but because he claimed cream interfered with temperature. He looked around the room. It's quiet. Yes. Your mother's house is not. I unwrapped the fritter. Vanessa's having a hard time, he said. I know. I'm not asking you to do anything. I looked at him. He removed the lid from his coffee, then put it back on without drinking. She and your mother fight every day. Your mother says Vanessa is irresponsible. Vanessa says your mother treats her like she's helpless. They're both right. Dad smiled faintly. That's what I said. You said that out loud? Not the second part. Coward. Yes. He said it so plainly that my joke died. Dad folded the paper bag into a smaller and smaller square. I have been a coward, he said, with your mother, with you. I waited. Whenever she asked too much from you, I told myself you could handle it. When you got angry, I'd come to you privately and say she went too far. Then I'd go home and let her keep going. That was easier. Yes. For you. Yes. He looked up. His eyes were wet. I called it keeping the peace, but there wasn't peace. There was just a place where all the conflict got put. I stared down at the cracked wood grain of the table. Me. You? He nodded. I'm sorry, Claire. I had imagined apologies from my family before. In every version, I knew exactly what to say. Something measured and devastating. Something that made them finally understand the size of what they had done. Instead, I tore off a piece of fritter and said, Okay. Dad's face crumpled slightly. I don't know what to do with that yet, I added. You don't have to do anything. It was the right answer. We drank our coffee. After a while, he looked toward the pantry. Where's that loud machine? Put away. Coffee grinder? Yes. Your mother said it belonged to Vanessa. It doesn't. Whose is it? I thought about that. The house is, I guess. He nodded as if houses could own the objects that complicated them. Before he left, he stood in the entryway and examined the ceramic bowl containing Daniel's key. I'm going home to talk to your mother. About what? About not asking you to fix things. She'll blame me. She'll blame somebody. I'm trying to learn that it doesn't have to be you. That afternoon, Mom called 11 times. On the 12th, I answered. What did you say to your father? Hello to you too. He came home acting like I've spent 36 years abusing you. What did he actually say? That we have relied on you too much. That we need to stop involving you in Vanessa's problems. That he won't pressure you to come to dinner. A small, painful warmth spread through my chest. And? I asked. And he told Vanessa she needs to find full-time work or move into the apartment she can afford. Good, Mom gasped. You've turned him against his own daughter. He's her father. You know what I mean. I do. That's the problem. She began crying. My mother almost never cried. Anger, disappointment, martyrdom, those were her preferred instruments. The sound pulled at an old wire inside me. I don't know what happened to my family, she said. I gripped the phone. I do, I replied. We stopped making it easy for you. She hung up. I stood alone in the entryway, staring at Daniel's key. Then the doorbell rang. For one foolish second, I thought it might be him. It was Vanessa. She stood on the porch with the cracked, judgmental bird tucked beneath one arm. "Mom told me Dad came here," she said. "He did. She thinks you're turning everyone against us." "Us? Her and me. I'm not." Vanessa looked down at the broken frame. "Can I come in?" I should have said no. Instead, I opened the door just wide enough for her to pass. "You packed this with my things," Vanessa said. "I thought the judgment belonged to you." She looked at the two painted birds. The cracks split one neatly from beak to tail. That seems fair. She carried the frame into the living room, but did not sit until I did. For once, she chose the chair instead of the couch, leaving a full room between us. Her hair was pulled into a low ponytail. She wore no makeup and an old gray t-shirt I did not recognize. "It's mine," she said, noticing me look. I didn't ask. "You were going to." "I was checking. That's asking with your face." Some old sisterly rhythm tried to rise between us. Neither of us let it. Vanessa set the frame on her knees. Daniel called me. My body tightened. "When?" "Yesterday." "What did he say?" "That we can't speak anymore." I looked toward the entryway. His key still sat in the bowl. He said what happened wasn't my fault alone, but that he used my attention to avoid dealing with himself. Then he said he was choosing his marriage, even if you didn't choose him. There was anger beneath her voice, not only pain, anger. "What did you want him to say?" "I don't know. You called him 4 times. Did he tell you that?" "Yes." She laughed without humor. "Of course." He didn't answer. "No." He waited until his counselor told him exactly how to reject me responsibly. The bitterness in her voice surprised me. "You think he should be with you?" "I didn't say that. You came here to talk." "Talk?" She stared at the broken frame. I think he made me feel like something was happening between us. Then the second it cost him anything, he turned me into a symptom. That doesn't make what happened less real. Her eyes lifted. "So you think it was real? I think you both made choices. That isn't what I asked. Welcome to the family tradition of not getting the answer you want." Her jaw tightened. "Mom thinks he used me," she said. "Mom thinks you can only be acted upon. It's how she keeps you innocent and helpless at the same time. I'm not helpless, I know. You treat me like I am too. No, I treated you like your helplessness was my responsibility." She looked away. Outside, a lawnmower started and stopped, then started again. Someone across the street was losing an argument with a machine. Vanessa traced the crack in the glass. "I did want him," she said. The bluntness made the room smaller. "How long?" "I don't know." "Yes, you do." She closed her eyes. "The morning after the bar, maybe." "That early?" "Not like that. I called, and he came. No one made him feel guilty for helping me. No one asked what it cost. I was asleep." "I know. You could have called me. I didn't want you." The words entered quietly. Vanessa opened her eyes. I didn't want the version of help where I could hear you calculating everything. How late it was. Whether I should have driven. What I could have done differently. So you called my husband. He made me feel safe. He was safe because I had spent 12 years making a life with him. I know. No. You keep talking about him, like you found him standing in a field fully assembled. I know that too. Her voice cracked. She put the frame on the floor. "When Mom gave me your green dress, I knew it was yours. I knew you wanted it. But she zipped me into it and told me I looked beautiful, and you said it looked better on me." I was trying not to cry. I thought if it mattered that much, you would stop me. I stared at her. "You watched me lose things my entire life and decided the real problem was that I didn't fight hard enough?" "No. I decided you liked giving them up. The cruelty of it was so childlike that it felt ancient." Vanessa covered her face. "I know how that sounds. Do you?" "Yes." She lowered her hands. "Mom made needing things feel like proof of being loved. If I wanted something and she got it for me, then I mattered. And you She swallowed. You made not needing anything look like power. It wasn't. I know that now. I stood and walked to the window. For years, I had imagined Vanessa understood the unfairness and simply enjoyed it. Then I imagined she had never seen it at all. The truth was uglier and more ordinary. She had seen it through the only window our family gave her. That did not make her innocent. It made her my sister. Did you tell Mom Daniel led you on? I asked. Yes. Did he? Yes. Did you lead him on? She looked down. Yes. Then why is Mom telling people he used you? Because I let her. There it was. I was angry, Vanessa said. He said he chose his marriage, and I felt like he was choosing you again after spending months making me believe he saw me. Again? Her face flushed. You always get chosen in the end, she said. People expect you to sacrifice, but they trust you. They build lives with you. They call you when something matters. You called me when your marriage ended, because I knew you'd answer. And then you took my husband's attention because my answer didn't feel warm enough. She began crying. This time, I did not look away, and I did not move toward her. I'm sorry, she said. Not the kind where I cry until you say it's okay. I'm just sorry. I believed her. Believing her did not create forgiveness. What do you want from me? I asked. She wiped her face with both hands. I want you not to hate me. I don't. Her breath left her. I don't trust you. I don't want to see you. I can't listen to Mom's version of your pain, and I can't help you move or get a job or decide whether Brookhaven is good enough. But I don't hate you. Vanessa nodded slowly. I can take the apartment, she said. They still have a smaller unit. Okay, Dad says I have until the end of August. Okay. The showroom offered me another day a week. Good. The praise came out automatically. I heard it. So did she. I'm not telling you because I need approval, she said. Then don't wait for it. She stood. At the door, she picked up the broken birds. I'm going to fix this. You don't have to. I know. She left with the frame beneath her arm. Mom did not contact me for 3 weeks. Dad did. He asked me to lunch without asking me to make the reservation. He chose a barbecue restaurant halfway between our houses, arrived 10 minutes late, and did not blame traffic. The conversation was awkward. It was also ours. He told me the cardiology test was normal. I told him my promotion came with more meetings than authority. He asked what I was going to do about Daniel, and when I said I didn't know, he accepted the answer. At the end of lunch, he said, Your mother misses you. I miss parts of her. He nodded. That's probably more honest. Vanessa moved into a one-bedroom apartment above a dentist's office. The windows faced an alley instead of a parking lot. Mom called the place depressing. Vanessa signed the lease anyway. I knew because Dad mentioned it at lunch, not because anyone asked me to carry a box. Daniel stayed at the extended stay apartment. His messages became less frequent and more specific. The electric bill is due Friday. I paid my half. The air filter size is written inside the furnace cabinet. Nate invited both of us to dinner. I told him not to put you in that position. He did not send photographs of lonely meals or jokes about detergent. He stopped using ordinary competence as evidence of transformation. Once a week, we met in public. Sometimes we talked about the marriage. Sometimes we talked about work, music, or the trip to Vermont when Daniel accidentally reserved a room in a town with the same name 60 miles away. He told me he had applied for a different position at his company, one involving less report writing and more training. Vanessa suggested that, I said before I could stop myself. She did. He did not pretend otherwise. Are you doing it because of her? I'm doing it because she noticed I wanted it. I'm trying to separate the fact that she noticed from what I actually want. That sounds complicated. It is. Good. He smiled. I still loved his smile. I no longer treated that as an answer. In early September, Mom came to my house carrying no casserole, bag, or emergency. She rang the bell. I almost didn't answer. When I opened the door, she looked past me into the entryway, perhaps expecting the house itself to invite her. It didn't. "Can I come in?" she asked. For a few minutes. We sat at the kitchen table. She noticed the empty space where the coffee grinder had been, Daniel's key in the bowl, and the second chair pulled farther from the table than usual. My mother read rooms the way other people read faces. "I want to apologize," she said. I waited. What I said about letting Vanessa keep Daniel was cruel. Yes. I never meant it literally. That isn't better. I was trying to make you see that if he loved her, he didn't. He wanted her. So did you, apparently. You wanted her to win. Mom's eyes filled. I wanted the pain to stop. Whose? She looked down. There it was. "I knew you would survive it," she whispered. "You didn't care what surviving would cost me. That's not true. Then tell me what you thought it would cost." She opened her mouth and closed it. "I didn't think that far," she said. It was the closest my mother had ever come to admitting the shape of her love. She reached across the table. I did not give her my hand. "I have depended on you," she said. "Maybe too much." "Not maybe. And I protected Vanessa. You protected her from consequences. That isn't always the same thing. I know that now. Because she borrowed your car?" A flash of irritation crossed Mom's face, among other things. I almost laughed. She saw it and smiled faintly, then began crying. "I miss you. I miss you too." Hope appeared too quickly in her expression. I stopped it. "That doesn't mean Sunday dinner starts again. It doesn't mean you get a key. It doesn't mean you call me about Vanessa or Dad's appointments. If you want a relationship with me, it has to be with me. Not with what I can do for everyone." Mom wiped her cheek. "I don't know how to do that." It was the most honest thing she had said. "You can learn." She nodded, but she looked frightened. After she left, I stood at the sink for a long time. My phone buzzed. "Daniel." I got the new position. I typed congratulations, erased it, then wrote, "Do you want to tell me about it over dinner?" The dots appeared immediately. Yes. Then they disappeared. A second message arrived. "Is this a date?" I looked at his key in the bowl. "I don't know yet," I wrote. For the first time, neither of us asked me to decide faster. We met at a small Mexican restaurant near Daniel's new office. He arrived wearing a navy shirt I had bought him 2 Christmases earlier. I noticed immediately and resented myself for noticing. "Is that strategic?" I asked after we sat down. He looked at his shirt. It was clean. "Good answer. It's also slimming." Riskier answer. He smiled. We ordered tacos and a bowl of guacamole that cost enough to make me expect the avocado's biography. Daniel told me about the new position. He would train incoming analysts, develop internal workshops, and travel several times a year. "You hate airports," I said. "I hate waiting in airports. Apparently, I like leaving them. That's usually the goal. I want to go places." I understood. For years, whenever Daniel mentioned travel, I had heard logistics, vacation days, hotel rates, airport parking, whether the roof needed repairs first. Vanessa had heard desire. That did not make her a better partner. It meant I had stopped listening to the part of him that wasn't asking to be managed. "Where do you want to go?" I asked. He looked surprised. "For work? For anything?" He thought about it. "Santa Fe." "Why? I've always wanted to see it." "You've never said that." "I did once." "When?" "The week our water heater broke. That was poor placement. I'm learning timing." The waitress set down our drinks. Daniel waited until she left. "What about you?" he asked. "What about me? Where do you want to go?" I opened my mouth to say I didn't care. The old answer. The flexible answer. The answer that made everyone else responsible for choosing and me responsible for making the choice work. "Savannah," I said. "Why Savannah?" "I don't know. It looks haunted and humid. You enjoy neither ghosts nor sweating. Maybe I contain multitudes." He lifted his glass. "To your damp, haunted multitudes." I touched mine to his. Dinner felt like a date until it didn't. Then it felt like an interview, then an argument, then a date again. That was probably honest. When the check arrived, Daniel reached for it. "I can pay," I said. "I invited you." He let go. "Split it?" "Yes." The ease of that answer made both of us smile. Outside, we stood beneath the restaurant's striped awning while rain gathered in the street. Daniel put his hands in his pockets. I don't want to ruin tonight by asking what it means. Then don't. Okay. He looked toward the parking lot. The fact that he obeyed irritated me. I think we should see a counselor together, I said. He turned back. That doesn't mean you come home. I understand. It doesn't mean I've forgiven you. I understand. It doesn't mean I will. His face tightened. I understand. I want to see if there's enough truth left to make a decision. Yes. And if we try, we do it from separate homes. Yes. You don't get points for agreeing quickly. I know. There. That? What? You're so committed to saying the correct thing that I can't tell whether you mean it. Daniel nodded slowly. Then he said, I hate the extended stay apartment. I hate that my refrigerator makes noise all night. I hate ringing the doorbell at my own house. I hate knowing you eat eggs over the sink when you're sad. I want to come home. I want you to tell me this punishment has lasted long enough. I held my breath. But it isn't punishment, he continued. It's the life my choices made, so I'm going to keep living in it until you decide you want something different. The rain tapped against the awning. That felt more honest, I said. It felt worse. Usually does. He laughed softly. He did not kiss me. I drove home wishing he had. Our first counseling session was held in an office decorated with enough smooth stones to build a small wall. The counselor, Dr. Patel, asked why we were there. Daniel said, because I had an emotional affair with Claire's sister and kissed her. I said, because I don't know whether staying makes me strong or just familiar. Dr. Patel looked between us. This is going to be fun, I added. She almost smiled. Counseling did not reveal one hidden truth that unlocked our marriage. It revealed dozens of boring truths we had stepped over for years. Daniel felt useful only when he solved something. I felt safe only when I had already solved it. He waited for me to ask, then resented being managed. I waited for him to notice, then resented having to ask. We had called the arrangement compatibility because it rarely produced noise. Vanessa had not broken a perfect marriage. She had entered a quiet weakness and made it loud. Daniel never used that fact to excuse himself. When I tried to make every session about the affair, he answered every question. When I tried to make every session about my family, Dr. Patel brought me back to the marriage. It was deeply annoying. We began seeing each other on Saturdays. At first, we met in public. Museums, diners, a used bookstore where Daniel bought a travel guide to Santa Fe and did not suggest I go with him. Then he invited me to his apartment. The refrigerator did sound digestive. His bed was made badly. A single basil plant leaned toward the kitchen window. The trash schedule was taped inside a cabinet. You laminated it? I asked. The tape was wrinkling. Who are you? He made pasta without asking where I kept anything. He cleaned as he cooked. The sauce was too salty. I ate 2 bowls. When I left, he walked me to my car and kissed me for the first time since the restaurant parking garage. He stopped after a few seconds. Okay? He asked. Yes. He waited. I kissed him again. I still went home alone. Vanessa returned the bird picture in October. She did not bring it herself. She left it with Dad, who handed it to me at lunch, wrapped in a grocery bag. The glass had been replaced. The crack was gone, but one corner of the wooden frame had been glued slightly crooked. She said not to call, Dad told me. I wasn't going to. She said that too. I hung the picture in the office instead of the guest room. Vanessa and I exchanged occasional messages. The first was about the ceramic wedding bowl. She found it while unpacking and asked whether I wanted it. I told her no. She sent back, neither does Mark. I laughed, then felt guilty, then remembered guilt did not have to become an action. She increased her hours at Field and Nest and began doing small styling jobs on weekends. I heard about them from Dad until I asked her directly how work was going. Good, she wrote. Busy. I typed, I'm proud of you. Then I erased it. Glad it's going well. Her reply came a minute later. Me too. We were learning how to speak without climbing back into our assigned positions. Mom found that harder. She invited me to Sunday dinner every week. I declined most weeks. When I went, I brought nothing unless asked directly. And if she tried to send me home with a task disguised as leftovers, I left the container on her counter. Once she called to say Dad needed help moving patio furniture. Then she stopped herself. "Never mind," she said. "I can ask him, or you could ask me if I'm available." A pause. "Are you available?" "No." She sighed, but she did not punish me with silence afterward. That counted as progress. Dad and I kept having lunch. Sometimes he complained about Mom, and I told him to talk to her. The first time he looked offended. The second time he laughed. By the third, he stopped using me as the complaint department. Daniel told people the truth. Not everyone. Our marriage was not a press release. But when Nate asked why we lived separately, Daniel did not say we were going through something. When his mother assumed I had thrown him out over one mistake, he corrected her. I learned about that because she called me to apologize. Daniel said I was making you responsible for what he did. She said stiffly. That sounds like Daniel. He's becoming very articulate. Counseling. I liked him better vague. So did he. By November, Daniel had moved from the extended stay apartment into a small one-bedroom with an actual stove and a refrigerator that suffered in silence. He signed a year-long lease. When he told me, I was surprised by the grief that moved through me. "A year?" I asked. "You said separate homes." "I did. I didn't want to rent month to month while secretly expecting you to end the separation. That's annoyingly healthy. I hated signing it." "Good." He smiled. We spent Thanksgiving at my parents' house. It was the first time all 5 of us had been together since the driveway. Daniel and I arrived separately. Vanessa came early but did not cook the entire meal to prove usefulness. Dad burned the rolls. Mom blamed the oven, which had worked perfectly for 20 years. At the table, Vanessa sat across from me. Daniel sat beside Dad. Mom had changed the seating arrangement 3 times before we arrived. I could tell from the abandoned place settings on the sideboard. Dinner was stiff until Dad dropped a piece of turkey into his water glass. The splash hit Mom's blouse. Vanessa laughed first. Mom tried not to, which made the sound come out like a cough. Daniel handed her a napkin. I began laughing, and then all of us were. For a moment, the table felt ordinary. Not healed, not erased. Ordinary was enough. After dessert, Mom found me alone in the kitchen wrapping a piece of pie for Daniel. "You two seem happy," she said. "We had pie. You know what I mean. We're doing better. When is he moving home?" I folded the foil over the plate. "He isn't." Her face fell. "You're still punishing him?" "No. You're married, Claire. A marriage can't survive forever with all these guardrails." "Maybe not." She lowered her voice. "He doesn't even have a key." "No. What if there's an emergency? He can call me. He shouldn't need permission to enter his own life." The sentence was close enough to truth that I put down the pie. He had access to everything, I said. My house, my work, my loyalty, my forgiveness before he'd even asked for it. So did Vanessa. So did you. Mom looked toward the dining room. "I apologized. You did. And you said we were rebuilding. We are. Then why does everything still feel so guarded?" "Because access isn't love." She frowned. "And sacrifice isn't strength," I continued. "Forgiveness doesn't mean anyone returns unchanged." Mom's eyes filled, but she did not argue. That was new, too. Vanessa entered carrying 3 plates. "I can come back," she said. "No," Mom replied. "We're done." Vanessa looked at me. I nodded once. She set the plates by the sink. "Who gets the last piece of pie?" "Daniel," I said. "He doesn't even live here." That was Mom's argument. Mom gave me a look. Vanessa laughed. Mom did too, reluctantly. While we washed dishes, Vanessa dried. Our shoulders bumped once. Neither of us apologized. Daniel waited in the living room with Dad. He did not come looking for me. He did not ask whether Mom had upset me. When I was ready, I carried him the pie. We left at the same time. In the driveway, he tucked the foil-wrapped plate beneath his arm. "What did your mom want?" he asked. "To know when you're moving home. What did you say? That you aren't?" He nodded. You could look less pleased about the year-long lease, I said. I'm not pleased. You look pleased. I'm trying to respect your answer. That's very mature. Thank you. It wasn't a compliment. I'm choosing to receive it as one. We walked toward our separate cars. The air was cold enough that our breath showed. Daniel stopped beside my door. Claire. I looked at him. I don't need to move home to know what I'm working toward. What are you working toward? Being someone you would choose again. I leaned against the car. That's still making the work about the reward. He winced. You're right. I know. He waited. I softened. Try again. He looked toward the house, thinking. I'm working toward becoming someone who doesn't need a woman to organize his life before he can be decent inside it. Better. And I hope you choose me. Honest, I'm having a strong night. You dropped turkey in your lap. That was Robert. You laughed until you spilled gravy. Shared trauma. I kissed him. He held the pie away from us, protecting it with more skill than he had shown during our wedding cake cutting. When we pulled apart, he said, Do you want to come to my place? No. His face fell, but he nodded. I took my keys from my purse. Do you want to come to mine? He looked at me carefully. For coffee? Ground coffee, the bad kind, the reliable kind. He smiled. Sounds perfect. We drove separately. When Daniel reached the house, he parked at the curb instead of in the driveway. He walked to the porch carrying the pie and rang the bell. I was already inside. His old key no longer sat in the ceramic bowl. I had put it away months earlier, not thrown it out, not returned it, just removed it from the place where every visitor could see it waiting. Daniel stood beneath the porch light with his hands full. I opened the door. He did not step forward. Are you going to make me eat that whole pie outside? He asked. I'm considering it. It's cold. You're strong. You can rebuild. He laughed, then grew quiet because we both heard the echo. I reached for the plate. He gave it to me. Then he waited, without assuming the rest. Come in, I said. And he did.